It's a day after Workers' Day, a day globally set aside to celebrate workers, May Day as they call it, and it's organized by the Trade Union Congress or Organized Labor. It happened in Koforidua in the Eastern region this time around. Are you a worker? What's the state of your welfare at the workplace? Either a government worker, a private worker. Are you a member of a union? Are you not a member of a union? How are things going for you? This morning, I want to hear from you. Send me your messages on our WhatsApp number 0539-996-996. 0539-998-996 rather. This is a big issue on 97.3 CTFM and also on Channel 1 television. It is not the main issue we are discussing today. We're talking about Doomsaw. Should we even call it that, or it was a technical issue? And the president said the hand of God. What happened at Akosombo, a fire incident that resulted in the shutting down of Kwame Nkrumah's Akosombo Kania. But the president and the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, the Honorable John Jinapor, have said that all things have been settled and the problems have ended. Have they really? We'll talk about that on the big issue today. Also, the Bank of Ghana is in the news this week. What is the Bank of Ghana saying? The Bank of Ghana says, and they give this information voluntarily through the Auditor General, to give to the House of Parliament, I beg your pardon. And they said, oh yeah, we have made some losses, some very hefty, heavy losses too. That is, the numbers are huge in their billions of cedis. But the Bank of Ghana says, wait a minute, we made those losses because we're trying to make sure that the cedi does not run away from the dollar. And that is why over the past 16 months, the cedi has been very stable. It is the reason that when you buy fuel at the pump, it hasn't increased that much. It is the reason why a lot of things are looking good. We have an import cover of so many months, which is even above the global standards. So, should we celebrate these laws and say that it was a necessary evil? That is something we'll be looking at here on the big issue. And then also in the mining sector, we have a conversation around a mining company that has been closed down, Adamus Mining. What are the reasons? We'll be talking about. I am Umaru Sandamadu. I'll introduce my panelists when I return. This is The Big Issue.
Watching DSTV means getting the TV you love, but staying connected means getting something extra. Stunning. Extra matches, extra dramas, the best local and the world's biggest. Extra laughter, music, movies, and extra vim.
I love it.
Just stay connected or reconnect and get upgraded to the next higher package at no extra cost. Charlie, we got you. Keep watching. Get more with DSTV.
When he speaks, the political space shakes. Some call him bold, others say controversial. But beyond the headlines, who is this man?
How would Koku describe Koku?
Forthright, upbeat, and calculated risk taker.
This Sunday, Samuel Koku Anyidoho joins Frema Edunyame on The Upside Down Show for a candid conversation about his journey, his convictions, and his time alongside the late John Evans Atta Mills. Totally unscripted, nothing held back.
So 31st December, so I was supposed to have washed my father's running shoes for him to go jogging. So this is 1981, right?
81, yeah.
And I didn't. So he came back home and he wanted to know whether his running shoes were ready. Not ready. In my small boy brain, I went and now dipped the whole...
Oh, in water.
In water. In fact, one of the things I used to tell President Mills, Freeman, was that, say, after your 8 years, okay, I thought he would do 8 years. So after your 8 years, when you are going, I'll go with you.
Oh, okay.
7 p.m. prompt this Sunday, only on Channel 1 TV. This is one you don't want to miss. In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensa.
for social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters. Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensah.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
Yeah, welcome back. This is a big issue on 97.3 CTFM and on Channel 1 Television. I'm Umar Sandawa. We are broadcasting from number 5 Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra. What are we looking at today? I've given you the general highlights of the topic. Let's go into the details now. And we start off with Dumso. The minority in Parliament had issue with the government's handling of the power situation. Is there an opportunity to take on the government? Is it an opportunity to cry wolf where there's none? Our parliamentary affairs correspondent is Niaikwe Okain. He has been listening to the minority press conference.
The Minority Caucus on Tuesday addressed journalists on the recent power outages being experienced in parts of the country which have been attributed to the Akosombo Inferno and transformer upgrades by the government. The minority in its address asserted that the situation is as a result of the Mahama government's neglect of the energy sector recovery program introduced by the Akufo-Addo government that was meant to tackle the financial and operational challenges in the energy sector.
The doom that millions of Ghanaians have been enduring since January 2025 was not caused by any accident at Akosombo. And the NPP minority will not allow this government to shelter its own incompetence behind the narrative of a single incident. We say to the president directly, the darkness Ghanaians are experiencing is not the product of 23rd April 2026. It is a product of 14 months of policy failure, institutional neglects, and the deliberate abandonment of the energy sector recovery framework that the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia administration put in place to prevent exactly this kind of collapse.
The group also disclosed that the government is indebted to independent power producers to the tune of over $500 million and also $200 million to fuel suppliers for power generation.
The data available to us is that government owes IPPs over $500 million and over $200 million to companies that supplied fuel for power generation. We call on the government to come clear on the financial situation in the sector, particularly after the imposition of the Dumso levy. If the levy has been collected but not properly applied, Ghanaians have the right to know. If it has been misappropriated, those responsible must be held accountable.
The Minority Caucus, as part of its series of demands, wants the Energy Minister to appear before Parliament when the House reconvenes from recess to apprise lawmakers on plans being rolled out to end the power situation.
The government must immediately cease describing a nationwide power crisis as a planned maintenance program or a series of routine transformer upgrades. Ghanaians are not fooled. The lights are out because this government failed to implement the recovery plan it inherited, not because of engineering schedules. Implement the ESRP without further delay. The Minister of Energy must appear before the full House and brief members on the current state of Ghana's generation and transmission capacity, the financial obligations outstanding to IPPs, the status of the ESRP, and this government's credible, costed, and time-bound plan to end Dumso. An investigation of Bidco CEO or ECG's Ashanti leadership must follow transparent due process. Findings must be evidence-based. If culpability is established, the law must take its course. If it is not, those officials must be fully and publicly exonerated. This government must not sacrifice public servants on the altar of political optics, while its own ministers escape accountability.
So that's the minority side in Parliament speaking on the power situation in the country. They have refused to accept that the challenge we are witnessing is just as a result of the Akosombo Dam, the fire or the inferno from there, saying that there are a gamut of issues that have resulted in this. In fact, the Minister, John Abdullahi Jinapor, who has been to Akosombo about 3 or 4 times this week, went on Facebook and said, mission accomplished, all generation units are now back in service. In the face of a major system disruption and against all odds, our engineers, technicians and emergency teams worked around the clock to restore power and stabilize the grid. Through their tireless work, discipline and commitment to country, power has been restored and system stability secured. I extend my sincere appreciation to the leadership and staff of GRIDCO, VRA, ECG, and all supporting agencies whose coordination made this possible. This moment shows that even under pressure, Ghana can rely on the strength and skills of its people. May God bless our engineers, our energy sector, and our nation. So that's the Energy Minister, John Abdullahi Jinapor, who is also Member of Parliament for Yape Kusau. So let's come in studio. I'll be joined by a number of panelists, but I want to start with the MPP Deputy General Secretary. Are you in charge of operation or finance? Or you people don't have it like that?
We don't have it like
okay,
that.
so the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party at large, Haruna Mohammed. You're welcome.
Thank you, Maru.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
But usually when they do deputy, there's one in charge of operation, one in finance, one in something.
Yes.
I think you are the one in operation. You drive a pickup truck. I think you are the one in operation.
That's operations, but it's not assigned as officially like in our party's constitution.
Okay.
That this one is in charge of operation. It is when you are operationalizing your work, then you define yourselves into where you are working in. But it is not that described in the party's constitution.
But your position is appointed, not elected.
It's appointed.
Have you amended your constitution to say your deputies should now be elected, or your deputies are still going to be elected?
Yes, so at the national level, the deputies are still appointed. And also at the regional level, they are still appointed.
When are you running
for?
The
deputy regional secretaries and the constituency deputy secretaries are elected.
Okay. When are you running for a position?
For now, I'm not running any position.
Oh, you should.
What I am confronted with is to make sure that lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong wins the general secretary position for the second round.
I see.
And that is my
and who goes for chairman?
My very concern is the general secretary position.
This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM. We are coming to you from our studios at number 5 Ola Hansen Lane at Tesano in Accra. I am in studio with the Honorable Haruna Mohammed. He is Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. And I'm going to start a conversation with him on Dumsor matters. But I've also been joined by my senior at Tema Secondary School. He finished Tema School 47 years ago. Senyo Hosi is former Seaboard boss, currently CEO of Cleveland Tove. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
How are you doing, my brother?
I'm taking it one step at a time. Amazingly, you're looking handsome by the day. You don't want to age. Respect yourself and age well.
This is a threat. Why threatening me?
We'll age you.
Is it my fault that you have grey beard and it's not the face?
I can't say to you, come here on the
I hope you make white, Charlie. Very soon you'll be grey-headed, Senyo Hosi. Nice to meet you, bro. You're welcome. All right, let's start. Your party is saying that the Dumsor situation, it's like you are looking for a chance to say Mahama has brought back Dumsor gidi gidi gidi, even though there's no Dumsor. Or he said that the Dumsor is just because of the fire outbreak. They've solved it. Matter is finished.
Thank you very much. I would like to take the opportunity to say good morning to your cherished viewers and followers on the City FM, and good morning to my senior Senyo and yourself, and other panelists who will be joining us online. Maru, you do know that we have been very consistent in how we discuss issues of energy when it comes to the NDC. We also know that Mr. Mahama is known for that particular concept, Dum So or Dum Kura. And we know that if you check the record of the NDC from 1992 to date, you would get to understand that the performance of Mr. Mahama, the current president of the Republic, in terms of how he maintains power for the good people of Ghana, businesses and companies to operate, has been something that affected us so much.
Like how he brought you a power badge from Turkey, which you sent back and brought a bigger one, and how he brought you a Mary that he took to Kumasi and all of those things. Or which one?
That is not the case.
Which one?
It's a case of a consistent plan by the NDC to milk the state of Ghana. And if you check 2012 to 2016, yes.
How?
If you check from 2012 to 2016, you saw that businesses that were operating at 80, 90% or 100% were operating within the space of 30%, 40%, and some even as low as 20% because of lack of power. We saw that cold stores were even disposing of their products because of lack of power. And you could stay for close to 24 or even 48 hours without power.
Are you talking about history or not?
I'm talking about, I'm building the point from Mahama 1 to Mahama 2.
Okay.
And during Mahama 1, this was what we were experiencing. And as a result of that, they built up this and went to purchase power badges in terms of pay, either you use it or not, you would have to pay, take or pay. And consistently, they have continued to do that until we came into power. We got solution to the issue of Dumso. We resolved the matter.
How did you resolve it? What did you do?
We said that...
He fixed it before he left?
No, he never fixed it.
Really? So yes. What did you do remarkably different?
How did the energy minister go?
Which energy minister? Because you put this on underhand dealing and the thing didn't go well. So some barbering shops...
He gave his own target. And
that's Kwabena Donko.
Yes, that's
but he left 2015.
Yes.
And the whole of 2016, they had time to fix themselves.
No, he left because he said if he has not been able to fix it, he will resign. And he did so.
Yes, that was at the end of 2015.
And the NDC continued to tell us that because we are charging our phones and we have high-rise buildings and all that, that is why we don't have power. They went to contract very huge cost of take-or-pay contracts for us. We continued to pay until the MPP came. If you check the MPP governance period, you saw that we have been able to stabilize power. We have been able to give operational capacity to companies to be able to operate at a maximum rate that will give them some leverage in terms of the maintenance of their staff and other issues. So we maintained the power situation until the period that we were handing over power to them. You saw the narrative that the energy minister made in parliament. Even before he was made the energy minister, we saw the narrative that went through. We also saw how the container issues, the number of days that power would have to stay within the period of the transition. We were being told that it's going to last for 5 hours or it's going to last for 5 days. Whichever, the numbers were not being added up. And consistently, they continue to make those particular inaccurate reports. Parliament, the minority in Parliament took them on for them to be able to set the record straight for all of us as a country. And today, we are being told that it's because of Akusumbo. Umaru, I have been sleeping in darkness for a long time, even before the Akusumbo issue. Dumso has always been with us under this government. We talk, they don't listen. A research that is conducted by a sister station with respect to 10 days and 5 days to the incident of the Akusumbo fire indicates that our peak generation was around 3,842 megawatts. Our peak period generation was around 3,842 megawatts. And our peak demand was 4,400 megawatts. That gives you a whooping difference of 558 megawatts. That tells you that there was already the eminence of Dumso, even before the fire at Akusumbo.
So there were underlying issues.
The underlying issue is that you cannot arrogate the issues of the fire at Akusumbo to the point of Dumso, because Dumso was already eminent. We have design capacity and we have utilization capacities. So if you are not able to meet those particular capacity points, you don't come tell the people that this is the problem and this is the result of which what we have. We have already lived with DUMSO. If you streamline it down to the 5 days, even 5 days before the incident happened, our peak generation was 3,332 megawatts of power. But our peak demand was still 4,400. That tells you that there is a difference of over 1,000, 5 days to the Akusumbo incident. So you cannot ascribe the happening at Akusumbo.
So Akusumbo just came to compound?
Yes, it's just one of the issues. Okay. But Akusumbo just came to compound.
So even fixing Akusumbo
doesn't solve the problem.
So we should be expecting to sleep more in darkness.
For darkness, it is the NDC or John Mohammed's governance is synonymous to DUMSO, and we should not be expecting anything better from them.
Okay.
Again, you saw that the minority has made the point clear and have made certain calls through your reporter, what he has reported from Parliament. It's a complete neglect of the energy sector policy that we have left for them. And that is where we are. It's about time that the NDC comes out openly to apologize to the good people of Ghana and tell them that they lied to them in power and they cannot fix that.
But should we not give them a long rope to see whether they will entangle? Right now, they haven't entangled
that
themselves.
That is where the problem is. If you give the NDC a long rope, I'm telling you, if you don't take time, you will be seen at Awudome. Sure. Or you will be sent to the any of the for him he's here Zujo. Either they send you to Zujo.
Is that a cemetery in Tamale?
It's a cemetery, yes.
In Tamale.
In Tamale, that's the biggest cemetery in Tamale. If you give the NDC the long rope, I'm telling you,
okay,
businesses will collapse. The private sector will break down. People will lose their jobs, and we would not even have food that we would have to save. Even students, those who are studying, BEC, they are just about to write. Some of them are studying under the street lights system, which we had installed. Some of them are solar panels that we have done. And some of them are coming out there to operations. People are dying in the hospitals because of DUMSO. Doctors will be on operation. All of a sudden, there will be Dumkura. Because if you even say DUMSO...
We saw that in your government, or people using torchlights.
Not us. It was under NDC.
Are you sure?
It was under NDC.
The video?
Yes, it's not under us. It's not. It is under NDC. It's because the second phase of Dumhini came. And that is President Mahama.
It was your time?
No, it wasn't our time. It was their time. And that is why it is happening. You see, he was busy chopping.
I haven't introduced you. I know you stopped from speaking, please. I'm going to wrap up for me. Let me bring the other guests in.
So, Umaru, for us, look, let us be very sincere with ourselves. You see, apart from government, we have the private sector. Energy affects everybody. Energy affects our health. Energy affects our education. Energy affects our business environment. Energy affects our export system. Energy affects everything. As we sit here, I think that you have put together a backup plan, because if we don't take time and there is a doom for us in this particular program, you don't only stand to lose the program as we progress. You stand to lose your equipment. And the high cost of maintenance and purchase is something that will affect you as a business. And that is what we must be very concerned. So trusting the NDC is just like trusting the wind.
This is the big issue on 97.3 CTF on the Channel 1 TV. Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary, NPP. I have a number of colleagues in studio, two grey-bearded men. The one to my extreme left is Duncan Amwa. He is an expert in the energy sector, more specifically petroleum.
Not when Fedra is here.
No, you are the junior expert.
Not when Munche himself. Papa Munche.
Duncan Amwa, good morning. How are you?
Sandra.
Everything fine.
Thanks for having me.
Hamza Suhini is a lawyer, and people think he's not a deputy minister for road. He just looks like him. Hamza, there's something you said on the show last week, and I've seen people write about it on social media. We were here last week, or was it 2 weeks
yes,
ago?
It
has to do with the baptism, on the issue of the...
Yes.
Do you think that comment was not properly put?
But you were on the platform. I'm sure that you don't allow any kind of reckless comment on your show.
No, it was your view. It was a view you gave. So I'm asking if, based on what you have seen people say about it on social media, whether...
What I've seen people say is a distortion of the facts.
Okay.
Yes, and you know, I'm sure that's why I'm making the point that if I had said anything reckless, you would have corrected me on this platform.
I would have.
Knowing how meticulous you are when it comes to your work. So, for me, it's one of those things. And it's been engineered by the New Patriotic Party, intending to turn the government against the clergy. And so I understood it from that perspective, and I responded appropriately.
Okay. Senor Jose, good morning. I've greeted you already. So let me start with Hamza. Because I've heard from the politician, I want to hear from another politician, then I'll hear from my two experts in the studio.
But I heard the New Patriotic Party. I don't know whether that's something.
No, he said that you people want to turn them against the clergy.
Which people?
The NPP.
Oh.
And that you had to make a chief of staff go and apologize.
No. Did we appoint the woman who said what she said?
We did not. Good morning to you, and of course, good morning.
We did not. So don't mention our name, Hamza, please.
Our colleagues in the studio, and of course, our cherished viewers out there, and as always, our production team as well for the work they continue to do behind the scenes, so that we can reach many of our compatriots out there. I have listened to my brother Haruna, and for me, it reminds me once more of the continuous denial the NPP seems to find itself, especially when it comes to the energy sector challenges we are faced with. I say continuous denial because, you see, there's always the tendency, and mind you, outages in whichever form ought not to be countenanced. It is not something we must encourage. And this government is doing everything within its power to ensure that we resolve the challenges confronting that sector, especially considering the kind of energy sector we inherited. And so for us, it does not take the NPP to, we need not to be reminded by the NPP of the implications of power outages when it comes to our health sector, the economy of this country, and most importantly, even government revenue. Because if production declines because of power outages, it would have a direct impact on government's desire to accrue the needed revenue for development. That is known. Maybe they are beginning to appreciate that now that they are in opposition. Because we all remember that as far back as 2024, even early 2024, Greenco started shedding load. And by December 2024, they succeeded in shedding in excess of 700 megawatts for December alone. These are the facts. When they were doing so, and we requested for a doomsday timetable, my brothers in the NPP told us to prepare our own doomsday timetable, and that what we were experiencing was doomsday. Then they did not know the implications of power outages on the health sector. They did not know the implications of that doomsday on the economy of this country and government revenue for that matter. These are the facts. But you see, unlike them, we are not a political party that plays the politics of convenience and seek to apportion blame. Until the MPP's press conference that was organized by their minority, government was consistent in terms of its explanation to the good people of this country. We had indicated that the recent outages was intensified as a result of the fire outbreak in Akosombo. And prior to that, somewhere in May last year, we had indicated also strongly our desire to change transformers and that the good people of this country should brace themselves for certain intermittent outages. These things were communicated. Unfortunately, in the process of changing the transformers, we encountered an accident at Akosombo that led to about 6 of our turbines shutting down. And in excess of 1,000 megawatts of power was lost as a result of that. So in the midst of that, expectedly, there will be intense power outages. But when we started the transformer replacement program, the outages wasn't as intense as we witnessed last week because of the fire outbreak. And we provided explanation without even drawing in the NPP in the discourse. And this foundation is important because, look, there's a tendency for those who are listening to us to say that we are doing politics, as usual. And the NDC is not interested in the politics of that sector because we know that our mandate now is to confront those challenges, and we are confronting it. But when the opposition organizes a press conference and seek to mislead the people The responsibility, again, is on the NDC as a government to ensure that we cure that mischief by providing alternative explanations to the mischief that they are leading. And so that is what I seek to do on this platform. Not because it is an excuse to the challenges we are faced with in the energy sector, but because it is important for education purposes for Ghanaians to appreciate where we are in terms of the press conference my brother organized. I listened to him. He copiously made references to the press conference that they organized last week by the minority. And he said that the NDC abandoned the energy sector plan. Umaru, before the energy sector plan that they were either to implement by the World Bank, the NDC had championed its own homegrown energy sector plan.
He said you brought machines and you're collecting money from it.
I'll get there, but we have had that debate over. Even the conflicting figures they threw out when they were in government in terms of the excess capacity charges and the exposure, the fact that they were exposed in an embarrassing manner. We have had those discussions. I'm not going to go into that. But the point I'm making is that even before their energy sector recovery plan, the NDC implemented its own homegrown energy sector recovery plan. What was it? In 2015, 2016. We realized that one of the challenges that we're faced with in the energy sector had to do with generation. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama took the responsibility and drove investments into the generational sector. Today, prior to his leaving of office, at least he has contributed in excess of 2,000 megawatts to our generation capacity. But he also understood, as a government and as a president, that generation was not the only problem, and that there was also the issue of finance. And there was a need for him to plan to deal with the issue of finance, and that was why he rolled out ESLA. Foresight, to be able to deal with the issue of finance and provide the financial buffer for government to deal with challenges in the sector. When they came into office, what did they do to our homegrown energy sector recovery plan? The first action they took was to collateralize ESLA and got in excess of 10 billion Ghana cedis. And only 4 billion was used to pay BDCs, according to them. Where did they send the rest of the 6 billion, Haruna? Clearly, that excess 6 billion was used to finance their reckless expenditure we saw in things like the cathedral, where they decided to spend anyhow, and the president himself taking the delight in flying in expensive jets, and all manner of government servicing of needless appointments and reckless expenditure on the part of government. So this is your record, and how you jettisoned our energy sector recovery plan that we drove between 2015 to 2016. Now you make the claim that the NDC is abandoning the energy sector recovery plan that was implemented by you and Nanado and aided by the World Bank. What are the facts? My brother clearly doesn't even understand the pillars of that energy sector recovery plan, Umaru. That energy sector recovery plan you drove hinged on 4 pillars. The first had to deal with renegotiation of IPPs. The second was revenue mobilization to do away with losses. The third was technical losses. And the fourth was renegotiation of legacy debts in the energy sector. Have we, as a government, upon assumption of office, abandoned these 4 pillars? Absolutely not.
If you had not abandoned, how come he has just shown us that he has shown us before Akosombo fire, there was imminence of doomsday, which is actually the situation.
Umaru is not accurate. You know that prior to that, yes, there were outages,
there were power outages,
but not to this intensity.
Yes.
When Akosombo came on board, and we explained the outages as being the reason behind the reason being
the transformer thing.
The transformer.
Yeah, but the transformer thing you talk about, is there not a better way to do it? Why should? And I'm going to quote someone. Why should a transformer being changed in Teshi affect power in
It is not just transformers alone. I think that if you listen to the energy minister, he indicated that the sector is bedeviled with structural challenges, and they are dealing with all of it. They are dealing with many other things. It's not just transformers alone. There's a need for us to take a stock of that sector. But you see, not to cut me, Umaru, they claim that we abandoned the energy sector recovery plan. Did we? Like I indicated, the first pillar is renegotiation of IPPs. Upon assumption of office, somewhere 2025, we successfully renegotiated IPPs and saved this country in excess of $250 million. And if they are current with even the budget that was presented to them for 2026, they would have discovered those figures in there. So that is a commitment to the first principle of their energy sector recovery plan. That cannot be evidence of a government that has abandoned same. Secondly, in terms of the revenue mobilization, remember that it is this government that complied fully with the cash waterfall mechanism. And as a result of that, we succeeded in moving the earnings of ECG from about 90 billion to 900 million to 1.6 billion. 1.7 actually, in a matter of a year. So that tells you that this is not a government that has abandoned the second pillar also of their energy sector recovery plan. And in terms of technical losses, remember that when we started with the metering system, there were those who described the meters as being Usain Bolt meters. When government was in plan to at least ensure that we roll out policies to prevent the technical losses within the sector, they were the very people, they did not appreciate that it was still in compliance with the energy sector recovery plan that they are talking about today. And the last being the legacy debts. If you look at the legacy debts, we have been able to renegotiate. And today, it has been reprofiled to 2028, giving Ghana government the room to be able to honor these debts within a year, within 4-year period. So that is in full compliance of the energy sector plan. So the press conference they organized, and my brother is here amplifying, is rather a demonstration of their own failure to understand the energy sector plan they were championing and are talking about today. And that tells you the appreciation of the NPP when it comes to our energy sector and the fact that they are challenged. And so if they do not understand what is happening, you can forgive their ignorance in that direction in terms of government's commitment. But it does not mean that government is not committed to your energy sector plan. And that is an aside. Upon assumption of office, in a matter of 1 year, when we still don't have access, we've not gone into the international capital markets, we have been able to service in excess of $1.47 billion of the debts in the energy sector. And we did so at a time that we did not have an opportunity to borrow from the international capital markets. We organized these resources locally through prudent management of the economy. When they had that opportunity, what did they do? They collateralized our ESLA that President Mahama fashioned and drove and used only 4 billion for BDCs. So there's a marked departure. And I was here, my brother said that, oh, we have not experienced Dumso when they were in the last year. You would not experience Dumso that much in your 8-year rule because President John Dramani Mahama and the NDCs did all the legwork. But when you came into office, you failed to continue with that energy sustainability program of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And by 2024, you started feeling the heat. That's why even in the heat of an election, you were doing Dumso.
Okay. Thank you.
It was out of your control. Your failure to invest in the sector was catching up with you. So if there's any political party that ought to shut it when it comes to the energy politics, it is the NPP.
Thank you.
You do not have the moral conscience. In fact, you shouldn't have the moral temerity to want to comment on this subject matter of Dumso when you did virtually nothing in propagating and sustaining that sector. Because this government is doing the needful, and all what you are champions at is simply to take advantage of investments the NDC's champion and abuse him anytime you are given the opportunity to lead this country.
Thank you, Hamza. Hamza Suhini. I want to respond. But you spoke here.
I have responded and you.
You want? No. I'll give you 1 minute.
But I also have the right of reply. It will just be fair. No, it will just be fair.
We are not filing processes.
No, we are not filing processes. But I will have my right of reply. But it is only be fair. It will only be fair.
I will know. I will have.
In fact, I'm giving you 1 minute. So
yes,
you 1 minute.
I will have the opportunity to respond on the ESLA issue. Very detailed to diffuse that propaganda. You see, when we sit here, is that it's not that we are the paragon of knowledge. It is because we had the opportunity to be selected to educate and inform the people. Nobody has the overall knowledge than anybody. So when you are speaking to the people, you should know that there are more experts out there who understand the concept.
You didn't know that. When you are speaking first,
what you are doing, I can do worse than that. So just respect the program. I can do worse than that.
Don't do it.
I'm very dangerous in my own self.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, so just very careful. No, I'm just telling you. No, not emotional. I'm just telling you. The people you do that to, I'm not one of them. Just want you to know that.
The people do what?
The people you intimidate and harass. I'm not one of them. But I'm just telling you.
Do I intimidate some of the people and harass them?
Please, I'm just telling you. Please. Else you will not get the program successfully end. All that he has said, it does not put our light on. The light is still off.
For now, it is on.
The businessman is suffering. The businessman is suffering. Today, in Tamale, today, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., the people in my area, my house, we are not going to have lights.
Who communicated this to you?
VRA.
They communicated that they were power off.
Yes.
And they said what's the reason?
We will not.
And they said what's the reason?
That they are going to do maintenance. That is the cliche. So all that
but
you have said.
They forewarned you that they will do maintenance and you don't believe it?
And I am telling you that what he has said is completely untrue.
Okay.
Completely untrue, falsehood, and cannot stand the test of time. You see, ESLA, that was set up under them.
Yeah. You said you use it to go and collect load.
No, we utilize ESLA. And because we have given you 1 minute, I would want enough time.
No, the 1 minute is finished. This is just me.
To give you more explanations on how ESLA was used.
Then
9 strings.
Then let me. Should I come back? Let me go. I want to hear from the experts and come
back.
All
right, then you go and come back.
Duncan, let me hear from you. What's the state of our doomsaw in the country now? I mean, the politicians have spoken, but what are the numbers saying?
Well, Sanda, I always take the side of the common man. And of course, that is who I am anyway, a trotro driver.
No, in this instant case, you have to be an electrician in the community.
Okay. The electrician in the community or the consumer?
No, the electrician. He's both a consumer and also understands the power sector.
Well, in this instance, I'm the man who goes home to either light or no light.
Okay.
And how does it inconvenience or affect anything? It does. I'm not sure if you open your lines, Ghanaians will be applauding for the erratic nature by which the power sector has been the past 1 or 2 weeks. I think that there were pockets of doomsaw already in the system before that unfortunate Akosombo issue also triggered a wider, spread situation. But in all of this, I say that if you leave the politicians to tell you what they have done, what they didn't do, you'll be forced to believe that we're out of the woods completely. But the truth is we are not. We are not. I happen to have had an opportunity with the Minister for Energy in the company of one of the ECG topmost technicians. And one of the questions I think he put to the guy directly was, what do we do with the power sector and all the hula baloo? The answer he gave was profound, direct. Fix the backbone, the infrastructure backbone. And for me, that was profound. If you have a system that has been functioning from 57 since independence all the way till now, and you don't make a conscious effort to upgrade them, anytime there's rain or there's some semblance of wind and you have these pylons and the cables, touch each other, then there's a trigger and the whole community or communities are affected.
So this is a grid-core problem or an ECG problem or all of them?
It's an infrastructure problem.
So the whole system?
Yes.
So is it a legacy problem then?
It's a problem that has been with us since independence, and somebody has got to fix it. And I was happy when the minister effectively called ECG and said, look, for the next 1 year, we'll put expansion on hold and ensure that we fix whatever we need to fix, change everything that is old to a more newer, robust system. And Sanda, I think that after that communication or that incident, over a period, I saw some stability in power across. Don't forget, this is not the first time we are seeing this erratic power outages. It happened last year equally. There were pockets of it up to a point, then it stabilizes. And so whatever is being fixed, I will be hoping that they will fix it properly. And I have every confidence in GridCo particularly. If you look at the amount of
the headless GridCo?
Well, Ghana still doesn't have a minister for defense. So you can say the headless defense, I mean, whatever it is. But there are people within the system, technicians who clearly have demonstrated what you will call nationalistic, you know. The fire outbreak lasted for a few hours. The consequences would have been dire on all of us for months, but for the hard-working engineers who have worked so hard to get past that substation that, from what I gather, was so old, even to get in there to stop the fire, they needed to break a part of that substation. So, Sanda, we are sitting on pockets of troubles here and there. And until we depoliticize the issues and deal with the issues head-on as a country, look, my brother Haruna will tell you what the NPP did. My brother Hamza will tell you what the NPP failed to do. He would now seek to blame the NDC for all of this. But I don't think that, like Hamza said, it is in the interest of the government itself to have these power outages, you know. Because when you read from the Deputy Minister for Energy, Sanda, he said at some point he has to just turn off his genset and face the challenge head on, so that when in the morning people are complaining, he would understand. And I think that Richard Jan Mensah earned my respect for that singular act. Maybe before politics, he had a genset. I am not a politician, but I have a backup. You know, I do solar a lot. And I think that on this occasion and on your platform, Sanda, one of the things I need to avert the mind of the Energy Ministry to is the need to move all your healthcare facilities onto solar. The need to move your secondary schools onto solar, particularly the learning.
I've seen something brilliant happening with the street lights. All the new street lights I've seen have solar.
Beautiful. Sanda, in fact, that has been rolled out. I was part of a team that...
Okay.
Yes.
I
yes.
noticed it because it's happening in my side.
And now it's happening across the country. If you are moving from the grid, you know, to solar, what it means is that even if the grid has a challenge, the city does not go dark because you would still have a lot of lights.
So that's what I saw. I mean, I was looking down my community and the whole place was dark, but the road was very clear.
Exactly. At least you can ensure that the motoring public still, I mean, stay safe, and that people will not hide in the bushes. Like the Gimpa stretch that had been reported to have a lot of, you know, people coming in. If you have solar, it works. And I am happy to say that the Energy Ministry is looking at these things, but I would urge them. That unfortunate Kaswa incident where a woman goes in and they say no bed and a CES thing cannot be done. Look, all of this at this point in our nation's development, we should not be reporting of these things. Okay. The Energy Ministry should be holistic. Don't send funds to still go buy thermal plants at this point. When God has blessed you with enough, you know, sun power or solar, whatever you would have used to buy a new power plant, right? Commit it to communities so that you can be winning them off the grid gradually. Commit it to institutions like the public hospitals and ensure that, look, if there's an emergency or a surgical ward, right? If you fix just the panels, even without batteries, for the entire day, they can run on the panels without batteries.
You're saving power somewhere.
You are saving power. If it means that for the night, you are not sure whether ECG will be reliable to the hospitals, then you can have some batteries, you know, on standby. If ECG goes off, solar does not need to be turned on. It comes on automatically. You can have your ACs on, you can have every other equipment working if you have enough batteries. And I think that, look, we may be suffering at home if the power goes off. But by and large, Sanda, you are able to sleep. You don't suffer casualty. Like the kind of stories you hear coming out of the hospitals where sometimes people are scheduled for surgery and they would have to wait because those who went in are not even back. Power is gone off. The genset is being started. And the genset, either there's no fuel or the battery is faulty or there's a challenge. I do think that whilst we discuss all of these doomsday issues, the way forward should also be something that I expect the opposition to champion. I expect the current government...
Renewable energy.
Renewable.
Especially since we call our ministry now green transitions.
Exactly. And so I would hope that the next time there's a press conference by my brother's party, right, they'll be telling Ghanaians the way forward. Because as for the problem, look, we've dealt with it, MPP and NDC. When you go home and you are taking a shower and your pump, right, is ECG powered powered. And you are in there and fine, Sanda, with all the soap and lard on you. You are stuck. Yeah. You don't know what to do. Yeah. When you get into your rooms these days and the amount of heat that greets you, you don't have the benefit of a normal day fun, right? It's as if you are in hell. So we would hope that whatever the ministry commits to do, I have seen the minister happy that we've been able to restore all 6 turbines. Yes, we've done that. But whatever systemic problems that exist, the infrastructure problems, the backbone fixing that you will need to do. If you give the engineers the same timelines you gave to the grid co-workers, you know, that they've been able to restore 1,000 megawatts back within 1 week, record time, right?
It means they can do more.
It means they can do more. So the timeline should be a bit stricter.
Okay.
We would expect that if communities, you are changing transformers, I don't expect that it should take you more than a week, you know, to handle each community. So they should give us a timeline. But while saying this, Sanda, I really doff my hat off to the board and management of Gridco. Without them and without that cooperation with the ministry, I don't think that 1,000 megawatts will be feasible at this point. Initially, if you heard the minister, he was saying that the phase 1, it could take a few days to weeks, and then they are hoping that by 2 to 3 months, they can get the entire 1,000 megawatts back online. As we speak, it looks as though they've been able to achieve that in a week. So and I think that the engineers have done a very fantastic job. Okay. But whatever fixing we are doing with the structure or the system, the communities are saying to Hamza and the government, do not take forever to tell me you are changing transformers. That analogy, if you heard the minister whilst in opposition, I saw his receipts going around this week, you know, in opposition, he said that you cannot tell me you are changing transformers between 7 to 11 every night, you know, and then it's just untenable. Yeah. So he said that in opposition, and I think that he can take a cue from his own submission and ensure that if you are doing community A, you communicate effectively with them. We are changing these transformers, we are fixing these pylons or fixing these, but do that if it is a housing community, do that during the day. So that in the night you can at least give them power.
We're doing 24 hours, so 24-hour economy, so they have to work.
Sandra, I'll leave you at this point. Before you get to
Senor, is this issue a finance issue? In 2014, 2015, when the power problems persisted, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at the time was running mate to Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. He did his lectures and he said that the challenges we're seeing was a finance matter. His party in parliament went to press conference this week and they are saying it's a finance issue. You know this system. Is it a money issue or is it a technical issue where there is already money where we are fixing it? Can you explain, break it down for me?
The engineering exists. The technical expertise exists. Vendors exist. The problem, Bawumia was not wrong yesterday and will not be wrong today, has largely been on the money side. We've had a very big deficit in infrastructure investment to support the entire system. Initially, it was around generation. There was quite some significant investments made at the time. It was helpful. I was privileged to have been an advisor to all the ministers from Boa to the previous one before Jinapo. I was in the ministry with Jinapo as well at some point when he was also a deputy minister. There's a problem in our power pricing and also our technical management, which is also curable by infrastructure investments. If you're having commercial losses because certain parts of the distribution infrastructure, you're having no commercial losses, technical losses, because you have certain parts of the infrastructure for distribution defective. You can only cure that by spending more money to correct that. So there is a need. If you're actually not generating adequate power, you can't give what you don't have. Even what you have is it cannot even be given fully. So if you don't even have enough, you have a problem. Today we possibly have an installed capacity of maybe around 5,000, peak around 4,400. But typically you're operating at a slack of about 20%. So if you're having that already, you actually have a real deficit in there. So there is by default a problem. In 2024, we had bigger problems with money because we had challenges, economic challenges that affected our ability to fund the fuel to really get things going on. So what you see on the screen right now actually gives us an indication of what the load management, the load relief, so the load shedding has been. You see significantly that in 2024, for the most part, you had significant volumes of power shed. Even in 2025,
so
the early part.
So this is your graph, the blue thing stands for what?
That's the load that was shed, I mean, of the, I remember there was a point.
In 2024?
In 2024, all the way to 2025, January 2024, all the way to December 2025.
Okay.
I bring this just to bring up the money matter. You realize in March, all the way down to November, you see some kind of relief, almost zero shed. Significantly driven by the fact that money was now being pumped to fund fuel, and thanks to the bill, the D-levy to that had come into play. There's been load shedding before the NDC. There's been a little load shedding, at least from December. You see about 98 megawatts that was shed. I don't have data now between January and April. Maybe we'll get it shortly.
So the left is 2024.
It's not all the left. So a part of the left. So you see, the very long one is the most. That was 2024 December during
this
the election.
This was after Akufo-Addo was MPP was voted out.
In December when Akufo-Addo was voted out, it was 700.
Not Akufo-Addo.
No, Akufo-Addo when the MPP was voted out.
So by that time, this
you
was
go to the next. You go to January. You go to January.
No. This 28 December. This was 2 days before handing over.
28 to December 2024. So not 28 December.
Yes.
So the
of 2024.
Yes, correct.
So it's like this one he's leaving. So
he left us with some, but
that's a very long.
But it was all because of the economic challenges that we had. I mean, nothing special happened. The only thing that happened with the rest of the period is the D-levy. That made
so the intervention.
That intervention. That's what I'm saying. There's a money matter. You see, money come inside. The load problem. It starts getting low. So we have a financial and a real economic problem.
But how
so
come
the ESRP
was returned? But the money is still there. The D-levy is still there. So how come?
That would be a pure technical matter.
Okay.
A pure technical matter. Okay. Like currently we are having the Akosombo thing also coming into play. I'm told there's an improvement for most people. But, when you look at it from a policy situation, and I can hear the MDC and PP, we all get tired. These people, your conversation is really annoying. All right? Because there are real lives at stake. What you don't measure, you can hardly manage. All of them shy away from properly reporting on what we'll call the SAIFI and then the SAIDI indices. And I don't know why, because, typically your SAIDI, that is the System Average Interruption Duration Index. It tells you on the average for customers how much outage in time have they experienced in a year or in a given period. Is it 40 hours a week? Is it 2 hours a week? We should see that. And how frequently it happens is when you look at the SAIFI index. These indices should be made public. It is the best way to have a doomsday conversation about politicians. Because you see, Ghanaians, I always say, students typically learn not because they want to know. They learn because they want to pass an exam. So set the question for them. We want to have quality power. We want to deal with doomsday. So start publishing on a period basis your SAIDI and SAIFI indices. Everybody will see. It becomes public information. When you, as a politician, you want to discuss it comparatively, you see. When you want to score yourself, you will see. But we hardly get this from ECG and I think PURC ideally should be the one doing it. If they actually capture that data, I can't find it. I tried to look for it, I didn't find it. It would have been a very easy way to.
So weekly or monthly?
I think that on weekly maybe a bit heavy on them, but now there's a lot more automated processes to be able to measure all these things. But typically this should be happening at the minimum on a monthly basis. So on a month-by-month basis, as we discuss inflation, we also see how people's lives are actually changing. And whether the investment and the policy actions you are taking are really transmitting into something like we've seen the de-levy impact in that particular equation, you know. So on a policy stance, I mean, I commend the minister for what he's done. He's also inherited certain policy interventions also from the MP, because governance is a continuum. If the infrastructure was all that bad, even your money cannot fix it. So you inherited a certain infrastructure that was good enough to get money to be able to fix it. But we are aware that the infrastructure problems still persist. We have problems with our transformers, I think ECG, and this is information that's public in the industry. We have over 33,000 or so transformers or something like that that's supposed to sit on the market. A lot of them are off. I think Dubik at some point mentioned that they needed to urgently change about 600 of them. But there's more that's supposed to be done. We have 161 lines to change. There are a number of things.
So the infrastructure is weak?
The infrastructure is challenged. I won't quickly say it is weak. It is heavily challenged. And there's a need for proper investment to be able to cure that. But to cure that, you must have the fiscal space to do it, which I think the government has tried hard to somewhat stabilize the general economy. But are we going to have the right budgetary allocations for it? How do you support it? The fundamental thing is that the user must eventually pay. So when we look at the cost of our electricity, is it fair? Is it rational? Is it reasonable? Those are the things we want to look at. Okay. We are going to invest in this infrastructure. Is ECG procuring efficiently? Traditionally, it has been a very inefficient entity as far as its procurement processes are concerned.
Opaque.
I've said and quite opaque. I've said it here 1,001 times that on air that some of its procurement processes don't make sense. They willfully procure things in excess of 100% the cost. All right, and which cost that they can manage. So one of the things I think the minister and I think the opposition should rather look at is the efficiency of those procurements. Look at that. Set and demand that these indices that can bring proper visibility on DUMSO, all right, or other things that benchmarks that bring visibility on the quality of electricity, because your electricity may be up, but the current may be low. We should be able to get those things out. If you don't put matrices that are visibly measurable, you'll be having unproductive conversations between Hamza and the Deputy General Secretary. It's not, the data should be there. You will see it. Hamza will not argue. He will not argue. And we will rather be discussing policy intervention to make it better. Then the conversation I hear from MDC, from MPP, should rather be how do we get better at what we do every time? Not how well somebody has done or how better another person has not done. When GM had this problem, we held him responsible. When we had so you are right. Why did we get there? Because we did not continue sustainably investments to actually avoid that doomsday problem, which was largely driven by generation. And guess what? In that emergency instance, we went to procure power relatively much more expensive than we should have because we were desperate.
And it was emergency.
Everything became emergency. And when in an emergency situation, everybody wants to milk you.
So during the 8th
what Bembuachi and Co. recently were able to achieve, cut down the cost by only God knows how much. I forgot it. Was it 9 to 3 or 9 to 6? Whatever it is, I forgot what it was.
14 to 9.
Look, that is a problem that should have been avoided in the first place. And you see, it reflects the weakness in the thoroughness of our policy making. We discuss trying to get into a light industrial, mid-industrial economy. We want to create production. We speak English without thinking about what we speak. You're going to use power. How do you compete with a China? When China has maybe X, and you are X cost of power, and yours is at 1.5x or 2x of power. I mean, where is the sense? So when you are procuring power, the first thing you should be looking at is what that cost is. How can that cost translate into production as far as manufacturing is concerned, light industries and service industries are concerned? We just said, okay, because we have to buy power right now, we have to buy power. And we made mistakes. Those mistakes, the NPP has had to suffer it because those decisions were done by the NDC. The NDC have come back, they are correcting it. NDC equally have created big mistakes as well because as we speak, what do? We largely just had 50 megawatts originated and commissioned under the NPP regime. But we have a growing economy. And largely because our infrastructure is not so strong, our consumption is also getting impacted. But there's news for everybody. The demand for power is going to grow. EVs are getting into this town. Somebody shared some information. I think they said about 20,000 units existed. A friend went to do some. I don't know whether that's true, but it would be good for DVLA to come and validate that. I spoke to the energy ministry, and one of their concerns today is how EVs are destabilizing the grid today. So it's not going to change. The demand is going to go up. I'm driving an EV, and it just makes common sense for anybody to own an EV right now. The Chinese have made the EVs largely affordable, but when you spend when I spend 200 cedis on an EV, it will last me more than a week of driving. But that same driving, if I was moving my other car, it may cost me 2,000 or 1,500 cedis a week. Common sense will tell you that is the EV. Future.
So should the government now, should we set up a new plant? Should we buy a new plant? What should we do now?
There's no two ways about that. We have to, but we have to actually have our plants more priced better. So that's what Bemboachi and co, led by Jinapo and then Ato Forsen, they've done a great job on that particular one. I think they've also had support from the minority, in government, in parliament, which is great. Nice. They've discarded the 1,200 megawatts, which must come. We have to replace some of the expensive plants that we have. Car power, I don't know if it's going to still be here or not, but the monies we've paid some of these IPPs could actually build these things 3-4 times. All right, so we have to look at ways of localizing the ownership, even if it's not necessarily government owned. Government hasn't got fiscal space. I wouldn't advise government to try and spend money on that. They should rather create an enabling environment to procure very competitively priced power. So power has to be. We need more generation, and we also need investment in infrastructure.
So that's Senor Hosi. Haruna, you said you wanted to react quickly on the issue of ESLA, and then we can.
Yes. Please, if the ESLA matter, I beg you. I led the origination of ESLA. So, my brother, you are very wrong. Government was not supposed to misapply funds, and I don't think ESLA ever, because the ESLA reports are out, was ever supposed to go and use it for, what do you call that thing? What you said?
The loan thing?
No, the whole, no.
And the cathedral.
You see, so when we are discussing these things, energy, let's take.
No, but he didn't.
No, he said that. He said.
There are so many things you made references to that I think that I have the right of.
I've not made a reference to you.
So I heard that. I think he's just talking about the purpose that the ESLA was set up under their government for.
I said in line with their reckless handling of state
resources.
Okay, so I said that when these people came, they came to do that. But let me hear that.
I'm saying, I want to correct something. When we conceptualize this, actually, together with the late Mr. Atta, I led that. The idea was always for us to securitize it so we could actually pay people off and still pay out that exposure quickly. Because all it meant was that we're just going to be scared and people were going to carry that debt on their books. A lot of banks were actually struggling because we actually ended up having some debt sustainability, asset quality assessment done on some banks. A lot of it were exposed to the energy sector at the time. Setepe had a very view. Emisata was of that particular view. We didn't finish this whole process and they left. But we started with the negotiations of scheduling payments. I think Seth wanted to just start with the ESLA coming in now. We're going to make payments. When this particular, when the MPP took over, they moved it to the next step. The key question will be a fair question from Hamza and his people. Did they really apply it as they should? They ended up expanding. They ended up expanding. That's the mistake you guys did.
And collateralizing.
No, collateralizing is not a problem.
Okay.
Because it has to be for a defined purpose. I owe you 10 million, I owe him 10 million. So on this table, I owe 50 million. But I'm going to get 5 cedis every day. I think that if I collateralize it, I can collect the 50 million, pay you guys off, so you will go. So whoever gives me the thing, you don't have to come back to me, start asking me for interest.
So it's a quick
because I settle you, you go, so you can freely do your work to continue to serve the country. Okay. Me as a state, we'll be able to now use this money, pay for the actual debt, which is the 50 million, and pay for the cost of funds as well. Okay. So that cost of funds doesn't come from you again, demanding it. We BDCs collected cost of funds from the state. Okay. You understand? So there was no problem conceptually with any of that. The key problem would be in the actual implementation. Okay. And truly speaking, I think that there was an overreach. There was an inefficient management of that opportunity. But conceptually, there was nothing wrong.
Yes, thank you very much.
I had wanted a quick one on the senior before Haruna comes in. I think what Hamza initially was alluding to was that at the outset of ESLA, you had given us a sunset that said in 5 years, whatever you generated, you were hoping to ring fence the debt, and then you'll probably be able to pay for and get it off our books. And if you brought ESLA on January 1st, 2016, the expectation of all of us, including Senor, should have been that by 2021, we could have been done with whatever we were collecting and take it off petroleum pricing. Unfortunately, it was collateralized, as in mortgaged, or whatever it is. Loans were taken against, we did borrowings against that,
so we had to
extend it by 10 years, 15 years, and blah, blah. That for me means that the poor trotro person would have to suffer that consequence for the next 15 or so years because somebody decided to borrow against an inflow.
Because we're creating new problems.
Yeah, but
the idea of ESLA original was that look, we're cutting the bleed.
Okay.
First of all, it's like we did with the petroleum side. Stop the subsidy so that nobody will come back to you and ask you for money. So now ESLA, when you securitize it, it's supposed to pay for the old one. We don't come back. In 5 years, we don't owe anybody again in the energy sector. But what we ended up doing was we had creating new problems.
But
why were we creating new problems?
Let me hear from Haruna first.
No, sir, I don't know if I
okay, you want to
truncated. So what Senor is saying, true. There was a problem. We said we'll fix it in 5 years. If you look at the conceptualization, like he said, the former NDC regime had done numbers with him. And they were clear in their minds that in 5 years it could be fixed.
So it was practical.
It was practical.
No, but did we at least clear the existing debt?
As part of the figures, was there the need for
the BDC debt at least was cleared. Wait. The BDC debt was handled.
So we cleared the
BDC. Yes, was handled. And the good thing was the same.
Was stored debt also under ESLA?
So the third debt was also
so
did we clear that one too?
But you see, Sandra, the problem is this. The problem for me is this. Whilst we said 5 years, we should be able to handle. The same NDC government in 2015 July had decided to go for price deregulation, which meant that they were not going to accrue any incrementals. Exactly. So they had solved a problem that says that the debts that we were accumulating with the BDC legacy, we have halted it. Now this is how much is left, both for petrol and power. So if we collected 48 pesos per litre, based on the volumes consumed over a period of 5 years, we should be able to ring fence that debt. I don't know what happened in 2018 when we decided to borrow against ESLA. That for me was a low point, very low. And I think that the former government owes us an explanation. Why we decided to securitize that and say...
The man who explained his in America.
So it's good I came here before Haruna. It's good I came so that they can have the opportunity to probably
let me hear Haruna. Let me hear Haruna.
Yes, I've been listening to the two experts from the industry. Senor and
the teacher and his students.
I know that, making reference to 2017, when we came into power, we conducted an independent audit of ESLA, and we validated a total energy sector liability of $2.1 billion. And from the explanations of Senor, you realize that he mentioned about how some banks were being in debtors. So if you look at domestic bank, it amounted to about $782 million. You look at our fuel supplies, amounted to about 440 million. You look at our Ghana Gas Company in terms of how we streamline the gas component of the energy sector was about $314 million. GMBC alone was $226 million, and BOST was about $122 million. If you put all together, it was a liability of $2.1 billion. Before the MPP could initiate the securitization of this particular policy, Honorable Setekwe, the then former finance minister, indicated publicly how a special purpose vehicle such as the ESLA receivables could be used to settle some of these particular activities. So the MPP sought to improve upon what was being initiated by Honorable Setekwe. And in that particular circumstances, we issued bonds to be able to curtail and reduce that using the ESLA aspect. In the first 1 year, that is in 2017, for 7 years, we are able to issue and fully redeem about $2.41 billion, which was able to use to settle the liability that we inherited from the NDC. In excess of that, then we also issued another one, which is our 10-year bond, which will be benefiting Ghana in 2027, about 2.2 billion. So these were activities that we did that will support the state Ghana in terms of how we manage the energy sector liabilities. And this is something that is going to be recouped. It's not going to go, because when you go into the bonds market and you use the bonds, it is not a collateralization. Okay. It is securitization. And that is what it's a security. So if you sit down, and say that we have collateralized and we have sold off, it is not accurate. Okay. Even within the setup, Umaru, we're able to buy back about 664 million Ghana cedis in terms of reduced debt.
I don't
How?
think
Yes, using the
let me ask you one question. Let me just ask you, Haruna.
Yes.
One thing that has been raised. So one thing has been raised against your government is that for 8 years, you didn't bring an extra kilowatt hour of power, and that the investment in the capacity is where you lack in. So, I mean, that's what it is to you. So, in 8 years, so we saw Mahama bring all the batches, the private ones, which you came to extend and work on some of them. But they said if you had brought in some more power plants within 8 years, then we wouldn't be talking about capacity this time, perhaps just transmission issues.
You see, they are wrong. That is not true. I'll start off from where
if you can do this for me, 1 minute.
No, I'll do it. Duncan recommended that we should be tilting towards more of solar. And I can tell you, based on the 1,648 megawatts we added from 2017 to 2024, we had about 315 megawatts from solar. If you check, yes, 1,648.
In which area?
This sounds like news to you.
2017. It will be news to you because
Senior says it's news to him too.
So it's news to you? In which area? Was it
AXA?
Which kind of plant was it?
AXA, Asogoli, 603 megawatts.
Yes.
No.
Those were not your power plants.
No, it was. It was.
Be careful.
Look, let's get it.
You commissioned Amandi.
Let me hear.
200 megawatts.
Let him explain.
Early power 160 megawatts. Same power 360. You commissioned, but all these were projects that were originated by the NDC,
government.
by the Mahama government. What you commissioned and what you originated and commissioned is the solar one, with 50 megawatts of Bui.
Please, in 2017,
I stand to be educated.
In AXA Energy,
yeah,
we had 188 megawatts.
It was there already.
No, it was done under us.
How?
Which year was it commissioned?
Well, let's.
It was 2017. Yes, we have Asogli power, which was 180, and we have car power of 235. So when you put, but when Asogli is there and there's expansion or there's addition of power.
Well,
yes,
that's fair.
So if there is additions of power, and I've indicated to you under AXA Energy 188 megawatt, And our Sogli power, 180 megawatt. And the car power, we had 235. Put together, you get 603 megawatt. Please give me the opportunity to talk. When it is your time, you speak. Then under phase 2, AXA phase 2, we had 110 megawatt of power. Then we added car power, boom, of 360 megawatt of power. And then my energy, we had 20 megawatt of power, making 490 megawatt of power. Again, phase 3, T2, we had 7 megawatt of power. Amandi, 203 megawatt of power. Then we have the Gensa energy, where we have 29 megawatt of power. Put together, we have 239 megawatt of power. Then you go to phase 3 under 2021. We have the Daman Gensa, where we have 28 megawatt of power. Then we solar expansion, we had 41. We have we solar expansion 41 megawatt of power, and VRA solar expansion to 10 megawatt of power, giving us 79 megawatt of power. In 2020, we have early power 144 megawatt of power. Then we solar of 10. Actually. Then VRA solar again 7.5 megawatt of power, and that gave us 162 megawatt of power. Then in 2023, phase 6, VRA solar at Kalio, phase 2, we had 15 megawatt of power at Kalio in the Upper West region. And then we have BPA floating solar, we have 4 megawatt of power, which gave us 19 megawatt of power.
So I got the picture.
And
so
again, in phase 7 in 2024,
so in total,
early power additions, tranches of 56.
So
in total is 1,648.
Very well.
So if we are to tilt tower, yes, if you are to tilt tower solar generation like you have recommended, if you look at the Bui solar power, if you look at the Diamond, you look at the solar, VRA solar at Kalio, and you look at the early power, we are able to add more in terms of the solar. And that was why Dr. Baumia recommended that if he's given the opportunity, he will tilt more of renewable energy than depending on hydro.
Thank you, Hamza. 2 minutes and then we can take a break.
2 minutes. Okay, I will manage.
Thank you.
Maru, first of all, I think that there is a need for me to correct an impression. I can understand the frustration of Senor, especially when it comes to the politics in the energy sector. And that's why in my introductory remark, I indicated even my own discomfort with the politics in the sector and gave a picture of why the NDC had to respond to the press conferences of the MPP. It is not in the interest of the NDC for us to be engaging in the usual politics, especially when it comes to the energy sector. And that is why I indicated that even from the word go, the energy minister never at any point in time drew in the MPP as far as these recent outages are concerned until they organized that press conference. And I say government that is not just mandated to fix the energy sector, but also has to play a key role in terms of fighting misinformation. The responsibility is on us. We are not energy experts only, like Senor. We also have a political responsibility of ensuring that we sanitize the political space. And so you did not expect this government, no matter how discomforting that can be, to fold our arms and simply allow that misconception and misrepresentation that the MPP minority was engaging, that my brother seeks to repeat on this platform, to fester. And that's why I need to respond to it, though painfully. Because for us, the substance of the discussion will be lost. There's a tendency for Ghanaians to say that we are doing politics, or they are engaged in politics, like Senor indicated. But the reality also is that we have a political responsibility to counter lies that are being peddled by these people. And when we do so at pains, especially knowing the challenges the Ghanaian people are facing as far as the sector is concerned. Secondly, my brother made references to ESLA. Look, regardless of the discussions that birthed it, maybe in the process of the discussion under President John Dramani Mahama, there were proposals of possible future collateralization. But that was not entertained by the Mahama administration, especially at the back of deregulation. So we were quite convinced that in a matter of 5 years, like my brother indicated,
the projections.
Yes, in the matter of 5 years, we should be able to retire all the debts in that sector with proceeds from ESLA. And that's why we're sure that after 5 years, it will go up our books.
Okay.
So if there's a new government that assumed office, and not only did they not collateralize it, but they extended the lifespan of ESLA, it tells you the issue of management and the difference in management and appreciation as far as application of OISLA processes are concerned. And these are the facts we are talking about. And when it comes to, Umar, I'm not done.
You are not fair.
Please. Yes.
I'm not fair.
No.
This is why you are not fair.
You are not.
Hey,
give him 1 more minute. Give him 1 more minute.
I don't know. Please.
Give him 1 minute. Because I need 1 more minute. If you use like yesterday, at the end of your year, you are able to
Haruna has taken another.
I gave you time and you deleted it. It's a Hamza was being unfair to, but I don't want you to ask for more.
Anyway,
Hamza,
no, because
2 more minutes.
If you still add him 2 more minutes, you still don't make any sense in that.
No, don't say that.
You see,
The two of you are wearing white shirts.
No,
almost. The two of you with gold.
Umar, I take no offense. You see, the most important thing is that I represent a president who has demonstrated tolerance, and I represent a party that respects different views, especially when it comes to our national development. So that is his view. He believes that I'm not making sense. To reflect the posture of my president on this platform, I need to demonstrate that understanding and accept that, and possibly maybe work on that in the future. That is how we build this country, and that should be the guiding principle. But you see, now to conclude. Yes, I'll conclude on this. We have not, like the graph my brother indicated, and that's my final point. I'm responding to the substantive issues. As for the politics, I'm sure that the viewers are the same. The graph Senor showed to all of us clearly tells us that the current power outages we are dealing with could not have been because of just the finance, but to a very large extent technical. Because as you saw, from January onwards, and even prior to January, we had indicated that we had serviced in excess of $1.47 billion in terms of the debts in the energy sector. And not only that, Umaru, even the price, what's the name? The World Bank.
Cash waterfall.
No. The World Bank price guarantee, the $500 million that was intended to bring in about $8 billion in private investments in the energy sector, that they depleted. We found a way. The sovereign guarantee. Brilliant. We found a way of paying back that guarantee. So clearly, the current challenges we are having cannot in any way be said to be as a result of the financial challenges in the sector. And that is why we indicated that there is a need for us to look at the structure.
Because we also have one city Dumso levy.
These are all interventions that the government rolled out to ensure that we deal with the finance aspect. And we should be commended. But the point I'm making, the conclusion I'm going to make on this point is that, look, Senor.
Oh, no, not you. Sorry. I wanted to confirm his thing. You can
learn from me. The point I'm making is that if you look at the graph, it tells you that we have been quite truthful in terms of the communications that we have championed as far as the energy sector is concerned. And so their allegation, their assertion that it is rooted in finance cannot be true, considering the fact that we made huge payments in the sector like never before.
Okay. Thank you.
In a matter of a year, at a time that the economy was going through challenges.
Thank you, Hamza. Thank you. Senor,
Omaru,
I want to read my messages and take a break.
Okay, I wanted to send you some. Let me send you something because I'm reading from the Energy Outlook, so we'll just all be aligned. End of 2016, I think I took a wrong reference date. He should be right. Installed capacity was 3,795. And after 2023, nothing much happened. So 2023, I think, is the last one we have. It's 5,400. Dependable capacity was 3,500. And 5,000, that's what actually you would really look at your as your capacity. So, I mean, almost that, but not exactly. But
so you are fact checking the money.
I'm confirming.
Thank you.
So, but what exactly are you confirming?
No, he's fact checking.
It was 3,500. Yeah, that's 3,500. Because he was suggested it was 1,600, right? 1,600. Yes. So, I'm not exactly 1,600.
Right. Let me move the conversation forward. Let me move the conversation forward. Amwaku sends a message and says,
"Let's educate well."
Because I was at you. Honyo Jose. Yeah. Amwaku has sent a message, and he says, "Tell your NDC man that my light just went off. So he should stop saying they have fixed the power crisis." Okay, NDC man, you have heard.
No, we have not said we have.
No, it's fine. Okay. This one says, please tell the Deputy General Secretary, the MPP man, that most Ghanaians are not going to buy into their, I won't use the word used, but now that the Kosovo problem is being resolved and ECG power is largely restored, my committee 25 thermal lights are stable and on since Wednesday this week. That's Alex from Com 25. This one says, I heard an interesting headline over the week, which says that earning low salaries in very expensive economy. And I think this is actually the problems of the hardworking Ghanaians. As for the minority, the least said about them, the better. By now, they should have been telling Ghanaians amounts of kilowatts they added to the energy sector. That's Jones Adboy in La. These are the big issue on 97.3 City. When we come back, we'll talk about the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana made an announcement this week about losses, but also said we should not really complain about that because it solved a bigger problem for us. I'll be joined by Professor Korte and then Prince Kwame Minka of the GoldBod for the next conversation when we come back. Please stay with us.
Turn up your sound experience with the We Hear speakers by Lovi. From the sleek We Hear 1 to the powerful We Hear 2. And now the premium We Hear Pro. Fully endorsed by Kylian Mbappe. This is not just a speaker, it's a flexible, high-performance outdoor Bluetooth speaker built to bring your music to life anywhere. With up to 100 watts of music power, you get bold, immersive sound wherever you go. All available in stylish standout colors. Now the good news. From April 20th to May 20th, grab yours at a special discounted price. The We Hear 1 now at 400 Ghana cedis, the We Hear 2 at 900 Ghana cedis, and the premium We Hear Pro now at 3,800 Ghana cedis. Don't miss out. Call 020-195-7739 or pick up at the Atlantic Towers. You can also grab yours at Orange FM Kumasi, Plus FM, or 3 Music TV in Accra. Number 12 of Funya Street at Belengpe. Don't miss out on this special discounted offer. It's the We Hear promo powered by Lovi. We Hear, feel the power, hear the difference.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show here on Channel 1 Television. On The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, and ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you.
With the complexities of the issues happening around us on a daily basis, it's the hard-hitting conversations and the probing questions of The Point of View.
So what is the Public Account Committee's job?
So what we do is to scrutinize, clarify, and find out why certain infractions have been made.
What do these IMF programs try to do?
The current program is for budget support.
Okay.
There are no projects attached.
That teases apart the twisted entanglements of politics and governance, as well as religious and social discourse. The Point of View brings you the policymakers and duty bearers and drills down to the very bottom of issue.
What authority do you have?
The Point of View airs every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
This Mother's Day, we celebrate a love that never gives up, even when it's tested. Let's celebrate the quiet strength and endless love of our mothers. Think about the outstanding moments with Mama and share them with us in our Mother's Day promotion, An Episode with Mama. Send a message to 0539 986 996 reflecting on that one moment you hurt your mother with a decision, a word, or an action that caused her pain. And yet in her quiet strength, she chose to forgive you because her love for you was always greater than the pain. Or think about the sacrifices she made, the things she went through, the things she went without, so you could have more. The sleepless nights, the silent struggles, her own dreams set aside just to see you move forward. Many times, these sacrifices go unnoticed. And now cast your mind back to that one defining moment, the midnight advice, the support, the action Mama took that changed your life forever. That single act that continues to guide you all the time. So this Mother's Day, let's go beyond celebration. Let's reflect, let's appreciate, and let's say the words that matter. Add your full name, your phone number, and Mama's full name, and send to 0539 986 996 via WhatsApp. Let's give Mama her flowers while she can feel it. The An Episode with Mama promotion is powered by 97.3 City FM with support from Channel 1 TV, and it's proudly sponsored by GTP and supported by Takira.
Big Issue on 97.3 CTFM and on Channel 1 Television. In studio, I have Senyo Hosi, I have Duncan Amwa, I have Hamza Sohini, and I also have Haruna Mohammed. Let me go via Zoom now and introduce my other panelists. Professor Alex Corte, Peter Corte, I beg your pardon, is economist and former director of ISA. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your distinguished panelists.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning to your distinguished panelists.
Okay, Prof, if you can hear me, can you say good morning to my listeners, please?
Hello, good morning to you all. Good morning, distinguished panelists.
Okay, we'll try and hear Professor Corte. Let me hear from Prince Kwame Minka. He's head of communications at GoldBod. Prince, you're welcome to the Big Issue.
Thank you very much, Omar Sanda, and it's great to be here on 97.3 City FM.
Hello, Prince.
Hello, Omar, can you hear me?
Okay, Contra, if you could do something, I can hear him on the floor.
Sure
now, let me start with Prince. Let me start with Prof. Corte. Prof, the Bank of Ghana's announcement this week about losses, which announcement they made themselves, how big a deal is it?
Well, it's not a big deal. Hello, can you hear me?
Contra, if Prof. Corte is speaking, I cannot hear him.
Me?
Okay. Prince, can you hear me? Prince Minka, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Can you tell us the GoldBod angle to these losses that the BOG announced? And because we've heard that there's going to be a sharing of the debt on the books, what is your contribution to this, and why is it an option that is better than what we would have had?
What I can simply say about this is that I've not had proper briefing on the BOG issue, and besides, I don't speak for the Bank of Ghana. But what I know, as far as our financials are concerned, is that by the kindest auspices of the Auditor General, we've published our audited financials, and it's looking very good. And I'll be glad to dwell more on that. And if you look at our financials, there's no picture or indication of losses anywhere. And I'll be glad to share that with you and your viewers and listeners as well.
Please go ahead and share.
Right. So to simplify it, our audited financials tell a very positive story. And Sandra, we've seen strong growth in revenue, largely because we've been able to scale up on gold aggregation across the country, especially from the small scale mining sector. But Sandra, you know what? Beyond the numbers, what's even more important is the transparency. The audit actually confirms that we are running a disciplined, accountable system with stronger control in place. And ultimately, this isn't just about GoldBod as an institution. It's actually about how our work is supporting Ghana's foreign exchange position and helping build a more stable, economic foundation, for the country. Now, let me just put some flesh to what I've just said by expanding it this way. That look, the 2025 financials of GoldBod represent not just a first year of performance, but the financial architecture of Ghana's new gold economy. And this is a transition from, that the 2025 year was a transition from the PMMC to a fully empowered National Gold Authority under Act 1140, that very act that born the GoldBod. And these numbers tell a story of a scale, structure, and strategic national impact. So here's a big picture performance. total revenue of 5.55 billion Ghana cedis versus 308 million Ghana cedis as of 2024. Total expenditure of 109 million Ghana cedis, down from 129 million Ghana cedis as of 2024. And you can look at the surplus around 5.44 billion Ghana cedis. But let's interpret it further. When you do a proper interpretation and put it in a perspective that is understandable to the common man, government, you can talk about government trade capital injection. You can talk about the strong non-tax operational revenue of 990 million Ghana cedis. And then the expenditure, as far as GoldBod is concerned, remaining tightly controlled despite the scale-up. When I talk about scale-up, I'm referring to GoldBod's extended mandate. And by the expansion of our mandate, practically, that would mean that we'd have to form new units and new directorates, which means that we'd have to, add on to the workforce. So from a workforce of 115 to 450, we're able to tightly control our expenditure despite the scale-up. And then we scaled revenue nearly 18-fold while reducing cost. And this is what we call disciplined expansion or prudence as a word. And when you do a proper breakdown, our revolving capital for gold purchases, not just funding, but strategic liquidity for trading. And then you look at our internally generated revenue of 970.7 million, which we also call the operational surplus. And you look at some of the key drivers being the ASM aggregation charges, the assay services, the licensing and inspections. And then when you do a proper insight, you look at, had it been the fact, if government had not supported us, practically, how would it have looked like? And that's clearly spelled out in our operational surplus of 970 million Ghana cedis. So that should tell you that there's been cost structure and efficiency as far as our operations are concerned.
So clearly at GoldBod, you are doing fantastic. Sounds like you are making profit, but
we are very liquid.
Good, but connect that to me, or connect that for me to what the BOG announced, because the gold program of BOG, what is your role as GoldBod in the BOG's gold program? Because if there's a BOG loss, ultimately we will bring it to GoldBod, can't we?
So in our books, which I have spoken to you about extensively, and I'll continue to repeat myself, because I've not had proper briefing on the BOG issues.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm very meticulous about the facts that I put out.
Okay.
And that's the reason I would not want to dwell more on that. But the picture that I've just presented to you, like you just said, we're doing very well. We are very liquid. And the books looks solid, and nobody can attribute losses to the Ghana GoldBod as far as the picture I've presented to you is concerned. But if you look at our strategic spending with regards to anti-smuggling task force and the CSR, as well as the adjoining establishment cost, everything points to the fact that this is a high revenue, low cost model that is delivering national impact efficiently.
Okay. Let's talk about Damai. It's a new mine, an old mine under new management. Ibrahim Muhammad's engineers and planners taking over. We are hearing that you are making, there's a deal, a very sweet deal coming from Damai that is supporting GoldBod. Can you briefly tell us about that before you take leave of us?
Sure. So what Daman Gold Mine has done under the leadership of Mr. Ibrahim Muhammad, the businessman, is truly significant, Sanda. For the first time, we are seeing a large-scale mining company commit 100% of its initial gold output to the GoldBod and the Bank of Ghana. And now that means, in simple terms, that more of Ghana's gold is being kept in Ghana, and it's not going into the hands of expatriates or other multinational companies.
Prior to now, what was the alternative that EMP could have taken? What could they have done? What, they shipped the gold abroad and instead now they are giving it to GoldBod? Is that what it means?
Absolutely, that's what it means. I mean, they have the alternative. Even now, they have the alternative of shipping it abroad. But you remember that as far as the GoldBod form and structure is concerned, there's a 20% caveat or benefit that we are to derive from the large-scale mining companies. But if you look at the data, everything points to the fact that the artisanal small-scale mining sector, as far as output to the GoldBod is concerned, is doing way much better than the large-scale mining firms.
Okay.
And so this is a feather in the cap of not just Daman Gold Mine, but it helps us in our advocacy in getting a lot more large-scale mining companies to do this. And also to prove the point that if Ghanaians hold the helm of affairs as far as the large-scale mining sector is concerned, I'm sure we'll see more of this. But this, Omar, before you come in again, this directly strengthens our gold reserves. And when your reserves are stronger, Omar, as you know, it supports your currency and your overall economic stability. So beyond just being beyond this just being a transaction, this is a statement that shows that mining companies can play a direct role in national development. And we believe this should set the tone for others to follow. And that's why my CEO, lawyer Sami Gemfi Esquire, he says, look, I'm making it straightforward. The media would have to help in doing this. Let's start a national conversation where we can trigger a response from the large-scale mining sector so that they can also meaningfully contribute to building our reserves.
Okay. Prince, Ibrahim Muhammad took over Daman on April 17. That's like, what, 2 weeks ago. How are we already talking about proceeds coming through? Are you talking about before April 17 or just the past 2 weeks, this announcement of gold coming to GoldBod from Daman?
Without checking with the facts that are available to me, what I know is that just when they commenced and the output started coming, that is when they produced their first output to us.
Within 2 weeks?
Within this short record period. But of course,
That means if within 2 weeks, this is what you are posting, then I don't know what happened in the next 2 years, independence again, or?
You can just you can just imagine, Sanda.
No, I'm not imagining. I'm taking your word for it, and I'll come back in 2 years to ask you how things are going. But thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good to be speaking on my home station, City FM.
Which you ran away from and went to go and do.
Channel 1 TV.
You used to be a journalist and you decided to run and go and do small politics. Because Charlie Money did it. Me too, I'll come and join you. Thank you, Prince.
You're welcome.
Yes. That's Prince Minka. He's head of comms at the GoldBod. Do I still have a clear line to Professor Korti? Prof. Korti, can you hear me? Prof, I'm told you have muted yourself. Hello? If you could kindly unmute. Great. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Prof, the BOG announcement, okay, so it looks good in one breath and it looks very bad in another breath. They are putting the two on their scale and saying that, listen, we made losses, but this is what we are benefiting as a country. Can you help us make sense of the announcement from the Bank of Ghana?
All right. So good morning to you and to your discerning listeners and viewers. Yes, I mean, let's take the politics out and confront this issue. We have a systemic problem, which is that we are a cash-based economy. So anytime there's excess liquidity, the central bank has to mop that excess liquidity. And Omar, you and I remember that we had a debt exchange program and some coupon rates have been paid over time. So there is quite a significant amount of injection, apart from the fact that we are a cash-based economy, a great amount of injection of cash into the system. Because of what happened with bonds, etc., investors are not immediately willing to lock their money into long-term bonds or government, apart from the short-term treasury bills. So that was the option left for the Bank of Ghana, to do open market operations and mop the excess liquidity. And that comes with a cost. once you mop up excess liquidity, unfortunately, we are a cash-based economy. So that's what has generated this problem. They need to mop this excess liquidity. The central bank is an independent institution, and I think we need to allow the bank to operate. If you look at other African countries, they are not as transparent as our central bank. Nigeria spends trillions of naira in open market operations. They hardly disclose this. Other African countries, I have done my checks, hardly disclose this information. I don't know since when Bank of Ghana started disclosing this, but I think I need to commend past governance and current governance for disclosing this information.
So the transparency in itself is worth celebrating and appreciating, you say?
Oh, certainly. I mean, certainly.
But what's the point of being transparent with me and telling me that, but what's the point of being transparent to me to tell me that you made losses? Why should I celebrate?
I mean, you made losses for a good cause. When you incur losses for a good cause, I don't think it's a problem. What we should look at is going forward, how do we minimize the losses? I've spoken about the cash-based economy. We need to look at doing more of digitalization. Now, Momo and other digital payments attracts zero cost tax. That is the way to go, so that you're able to use the banking system, use the financial system, and reduce the cash-based system that we currently operate in. And hopefully, we should be able to minimize such open market operations cost. If we are to also value the benefits, I think the benefits we are enjoying now will be much, much better than the loss that we have incurred. But I'm not saying the Bank of Ghana should continue to incur losses. They have to find a way to gradually minimize or eliminate the losses and be in good or better standing, if I may put it. I know the fiscal authorities, Ministry of Finance, have drafted an MOU with the Bank of Ghana to recapitalize them from 2026. So hopefully, we should see in the coming years better financial statements.
Talk to me about these benefits that we are enjoying, for which reason we shouldn't cry over these losses. How have these losses benefited us ultimately as a people?
As a people, I mean, we've seen the exchange rate stability, relative stability in the exchange rate. Now, you could buy the dollar. We import quite a lot, so you could buy the dollar for 11.2, for instance, instead of 17 or 18. You know, all the noise about depreciation and, it generates a lot of uncertainty, planning for business operations. But currently, there is some certainty. We can go on operating, we can go on importing, businesses can go on producing, and that is very good. Look at the interest rate. We could borrow at 40%. Currently, I'm told you can do 10 to 12%. That is good for business. If one can borrow and invest at such a rate, it is good for business. It is good for households. So households can also borrow to supplement their income or to invest to make returns. Inflation, which also robs us of our real purchasing power, has declined considerably. It was 54%. And with the policies pursued in the previous years, it got to 23.5, and gradually inflation is now at a single digit. I mean, it's quite worth celebrating, in my view. You attend conferences, you attend international meetings, and when you mention Ghana's inflation rate, we become a laughing stock. Now, we are very confident as a country. I recently returned from the IMF, the World Bank Spring meetings. It was all praises for Ghana, for all the good things we are doing. So I think I can go on and on about the benefits, and I think we should rather embrace this. My only caution is that we shouldn't be complacent, because the IMF program, which is also helping us achieve some of these benefits, will be ending in August. And I hope we will not throw away all the good things we've learned under the program.
Okay, Prof, please stay with me. Let me get the views of my people in studio. Senyo, I want to start with you. Did you follow the announcement by the Bank of Ghana, the losses they posted, And Prof. Kwoti and the BOG also just telling you that, listen, we posted losses, but it is for good.
I think I'd like to share the screen. I put up a slide, so we actually speak to this properly in context. These things are very important, so it's important we spend a bit more energy on education where they all fit. And it's good to see my Prof Q, one of the finest brains we have in this country.
We are celebrating him. I have a feeling you want to attack him.
Oh, no, not at all. I want him to rather take political office properly and
why?
Help fix our country.
He can fix. You are fixing from.
He's a great leader.
But you are fixing from outside.
He's not
politics.
just an academic. He's a great leader, and it would be great to see him at a different space.
Onyo Hosi.
Yeah, he's my guy. He's my guy. Anyway, so I mean, I shared a few slides. I'd like to speak to it. So if it comes up, but. We've seen what's really come up and the financial cost to it. We see a net loss of 15.6 billion that has been recorded, and they've attributed it to various reasons. A part of it is the gold program. The bigger part of it definitely has to do with the OMO operations. Okay.
OCR.
And this is really the core of the matter. Why did we get here and how did we get here? In contextualizing this, you also have to look at the purpose of the central bank. I'll read from the Central Bank Act. So I quote clearly from Act 612. It says the objects of the central bank. The primary objective of the central bank is to maintain stability in the general level of prices.
So that's a big assignment for the Bank of Ghana.
That is the heart of the assignment that the central bank has. The graph there is not really coming up properly. I don't know why. If you guys could look at it, I'd be very grateful.
So this from the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that one, the key thing is inflation. I really need that. If you could really look at, I don't know if I send you a screenshot.
No problem.
But you'll clearly see in that particular graph the very interesting feature of the inverse relationship you are seeing in the growth, the direct relationship, you are seeing in the growth of what we call reserve money. That's actually the base money of the country that the central bank manages directly or can influence by increasing its supply or reducing its supply. It has a cascading impact on what we call M2 plus or M1 and M2 plus. My lecturer is here, he will probably teach us better than I am. But that's the tool they have. That's the tool they actually use in trying to manage inflation as far as monetary policy is concerned. Monetary policy in this instance will actually be finding ways to affect aggregate demand, aggregate supply by controlling money supply. Okay, so that's the basic thing. And that's the core function of the central bank. So in measuring the central bank, you actually be looking at how their policies are actually impacting their primary mandate of trying to control or manage inflation. That is the benchmark. The central bank is not a commercial bank seeking to post profits. It's actually seeking to deliver economic policy objectives. And the central policy objective here is this. So this really becomes the primary tool for measuring its activities. But it is a going concern. So it has to be a going concern to be able to keep delivering its economic objects. So having this concern about 15.6 billion is reasonable. Please go back to the slide. I need that slide on the screen, even if the graph is not coming up accurately. I'm okay to proceed with that.
You deal with the one on your laptop. They are getting that.
They are getting it on but it's still not coming up well. But I think the panelists here would be able to.
So you speak to it.
I'll speak to it. But we need this in app. So Alhamdulillah, you are here.
I have audience also on radio. So I want you to speak
as if they understand. Sorry, forgive me. Now, why was this OMO necessary? You first have to look at the fiscal situation. While we're at IMF, it's unfortunate to say, but we actually derailed. There were massive slippages in our macroeconomic management, our fiscal management of the economy. We aimed at delivering, as part of the targets, a positive primary balance, which will mean you have a primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP. We ended up with negative we ended up with a deficit of 2.6%. That's why I still want the slide up, so at least I speak to those facts there for those who will be watching on TV. So in effect, what you've realized is that we derailed what we had done. We had a total deviation of about 3.1%. That was massive. That created a major shock for our economy. What that effectively meant was that we had spent over 30 billion cedis than we should have, or we aim to keep the kind of macroeconomic stability we were seeking as a country. So if you look at the IMF fourth review, there were clear references to these slippages and their fear and risk that it was derailing almost everything that we were aiming to achieve. That is the heart of our problem. Now, to deal with that particular matter, government or both the monetary policy and the fiscal policy entities, which was the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank, needed to take decisive action. Otherwise, we're almost going to quickly reverse all the gains that have been made. Remember, we had brought inflation down from 54, thereabouts, to 20-something, 23 or 20. Yeah, thereabout, okay. Everything was going to go haywire. To deal with that, you needed to take back a lot of that liquidity from the market.
Mop up.
You have to mop up. Because if you keep money in people's hands, more money will be chasing fewer goods. And what will you happen? Prices go up, inflation gets. So this is basic economics that I think everybody on the table really understands. Who was going to anchor that? The fiscal space needed to do one thing. Don't create more problems. So that's the first step. And that's why Ato's discipline was very helpful. Then the monetary policy space had to partly do something that we've not done in quite a long while. That's why the graph I really wish, maybe we'll have to end up putting it on your other handles, and then it makes it easier for all of us to. Our reserve money, which is that primary tool.
You have your graph. The
was
one,
growing,
the one you asked to be put up is actually up for you.
It's not coming up properly. Look at this.
This is
on top.
Okay. So, yeah, so I'm not too sure what you got and how.
Your computer is too sophisticated.
Okay, so we'll solve that problem.
You're all using HP.
No, his own. He bought it from.
Maybe somebody tried to use Apple to put up a Microsoft problem, so I can't fix that one though. But you realize.
So the curve you are looking
so
for.
now you can speak to the public.
Yeah.
So this orange curve here, which I'm showing you from my laptop, is inflation. What you see on the bar, all right, is actually the growth of reserve money. Okay, that's what you see. The problem you have now, you see, as it's going, inflation is not really getting better. But as the growth of reserve money is dropping, you see inflation is going down. Now, that growth has been only delivered as a result of the OMO operations, by taking up liquidity from the market. So you can actually control the rate of growth of our reserve money. And it comes at a price. It definitely comes at a price. You don't have a choice in there. If you have a vehicle that can absorb that to deliver this inflationary benefit, which is the core objective of the central bank, then you have it right spot on. You should also realize that this was a step taken to correct the error that we had inherited from a suboptimal management of the fiscal space. So it's a correction intervention. We have achieved inflation that has helped us with prices. It has also created a baseline for our exchange rate stability, which also has another contribution on the gold side. So I'll probably speak to something else that sometimes we sometimes miss. When you have a central bank that does not produce a particular currency, it cannot increase supply or decrease supply of that currency. You are not in that business because you can't increase that money. What the central bank does by putting dollars out and taking CDs is also another mechanism of mopping up CD liquidity. So when we improved what Bawumia started, NDC perfected it well with the GoldBod construct. We optimized the flow of gold, and we ended up with what, about 111 tons or something, or 104 tons or whatever it was, all right, From the interventions that the central bank used to manage, I think it was around what 57 or 56 tons they had done in the previous year. We moved to about 111 tons. It created room for a lot more dollar inflows, which they throw back into the market again to mop up liquidity, help the currency recover. Just so we know, the IMF itself had noted in its third review that our CD, the real exchange rate, had been undervalued by almost around 40%. So in this corrective measure that the central bank took, very tactical, we've been able to correct our currency, we've been able to stabilize, in fact, more than achieve our target on inflation.
Okay.
Every one of them comes back to deliver us other real economic benefits. On the fiscal side, a huge savings. On the import side, over 60 billion. So when you look at it all, cumulatively, we have benefited more than the 15 point whatever billions it is that we are talking about. This is like chicken feed. But we still have to make sure that this correction will not have to be a recurring matter. Because when you correct something, as long as the fiscal side stays disciplined and order, we don't have to be incurring so much. So that's we want to see the central bank deliver. But what has been achieved must be looked at not in nominal accounting terms, because it's not an accounting cost. We are looking at an economic cost to deliver superior economic benefits. I think this conversation I also had during my papers around the GoldBod thing. So we don't just talk about it nominally. That's not it. This is economics. It is not commercial businesses where you're looking at GCB. GCB has to. That's fine.
They should not post losses.
No. Because they're a commercial entity. Okay. They don't have any policy objective, even though they are quite a policy bank small, because the state has a significant interest in. Yeah. So it is more like financial access, financial literacy, deepening that they can facilitate those things. But as a business, they are a business. Yeah. They are a listed entity. They must deliver profit. But the central banks go, and they are also not the only ones. Look. What do you call it? The Swiss bank. The Swiss bank in 2022 actually booked about 132 billion Swiss franc loss.
And it wasn't a problem.
Central bank. No, because they had to deal with particular challenges. The EU in 2024 had to take a hit of 7.9 billion euros so it could stabilize inflation. Okay. So you see, these are policy institutions. So the primary thing you have to ask is, have they delivered their policy goals? Are they really deepening that? And are they still staying as a going concern? Okay. Both of them, the central bank checks. I honestly commend the boldness of Isiama and Zach and Matilda for the leadership they have exercised in this. I think we should commend them. People don't really have the confidence to do what they did. The amount of liquidity they tried to suck up, my brother, is not regular. You need a certain level of boldness to deliver it, and he did it. And we must commend them for it. What we need to see going forward is a policy trajectory and plan to make sure both the harmony we experience between the fiscal and monetary policy space will be sustained going forward. And I would like to see the NPP commend what is right. I'd like to see the NPP also make inputs in how we can sustain this kind of stability going forward. And I see the brilliance that also exists in both parties. I don't want us to make these issues political matter. Because when inflation is hitting everybody, it doesn't matter your color. You will suffer for it. When the exchange rate is going, and it, as Baumia said, when the economic fundamentals are weak, the exchange will expose you. The next phase of this conversation, once we have achieved stability, how do we move to productivity? And in all honesty, I'm here to see proper signals from the government.
Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed. Haruna Mohammed, based on the two experts I have heard from, it appears this will not be. I was
hoping you go back to my lecture to see if I have scored well. So he wants to.
No, he'll mark you later. I'll come. He's still on, so he's watching you. Haruna, it appears that you may not be able to celebrate this as an incompetence on the side of the government and the BOG, because from what the experts are saying, this was a necessary evil, and this doesn't really bite us. But I've seen that some members of your party are saying, no, these losses are huge, the BOG's losses are bigger than ever, and that this government is celebrating losses. It appears that we should actually celebrate this loss.
Umaru, thank you very much. You see, this is something that the NDC has brought upon themselves. For us in the MPP, We believe that when we have a stronger economy, I think that businesses are going to thrive. And that is why we have touted ourselves as a party that believes in supporting the private sector. And that is why when we talk about property owning democracy, we're talking about empowering the private sector and ensuring that the private sector serves as the engine of growth. Economy in itself is something that we must be very mindful and not to politicize that. But some time back ago, in 2024, when we lost power and they came, we had a similar loss of what they have done, which was about 9.49 billion. And what did they say about it? He said the economy was criminally managed. A criminally minded economy could get a loss of 9.49 billion. So if an economy that was criminally managed could get 9.49, what about 15.63? And you ask me that I should celebrate the person who was not mindful of how some of these indicators portray in the past, of getting an excess over 64% of what was criminally managed. You have an excess, almost a half of that, from 9 to 15.
Twice.
So what will you call that one? I don't know the word to use, because if my 9 was criminally managed, 15 will be what?
But they say you should look at it as a holistic.
Yes, I'm coming from all those backgrounds. I'll hit all those areas, okay? And if you look at the explanations that have been given, our good old professor talked about the open market operations, that's the OMO, and how they want to suck the excess liquidity in terms of money from the system. It's good, but efficiency, you ask yourself, they said it's at a cost. We all agree that it will come at a cost. But how efficient is the cost? We started from somewhere where we had a very high inflation of about 54, and we were able to bring it down to around 23. What happened? It was the same application of the open market operation. What you do in the open market operation is to ensure that the banks in the system, you are able to take back the excess liquidity so that you'll be able to maintain a certain point so that there will not be plenty money in the system. What happened in movement from 54 to 23? The cost of that particular open market operation at that particular moment of a difference of about 31 percentage points from 54 was about 8.6 billion. 8.6 billion at a cost to us. Then somebody comes to take it from 23 to 3. Now, I think the inflation is 3 now. So you take it from 23 to 3%, and that is a difference of about 20 percentage points. And you are able to spend somewhere 16.7 billion to be able to suck the excess liquidity. Almost twice, because 8.6 as against 16.7. That's 100% of that. So efficiency, meaning that if the previous government was to still stay and to manage to bring down the inflation, we would have been hovering in negative inflation in Ghana. And that is what the general public should know.
If everything remains
the same, and if the government of the previous government was there, to be able to use 8.6 billion to be able to take back about 31%, so that to be able to clear and get the inflation to 23, and somebody is able to take it from 23 to 3 with spending an operational cost of 16.7 billion, then it means that the person has not done anything enough. Okay. And you don't need...
But economics doesn't work like that. I beg you. I understand the politics.
But it's a cost.
No, but it's not...
Okay, I don't know. For purpose of
what
education...
you are suggesting is that we are going to get into a state of deflation. Deflation kills economies. So you realize that it's not something even you yourself would have ever wanted.
No, so let's
but disinflation is correct.
So his point is that if the previous administration moved from 50% plus to 23% plus, losing 8 billion. Why should this administration lose 16 billion to bring 23% to 3%?
And that is cost.
So I'm just saying that it is not.
No, I'll come to you. I want to hear Senor. No, I'll come back to you. That's his view. That's his analysis.
I understand. These are politicians.
Senor,
I'm just saying
what is happening.
I understand what you are trying to say, but I'm just saying
in the treasury market, it's one of the operatives that the Bank of Ghana uses. The ordinary Ghanaians out there, if you are going to buy treasury bills, currently you have a 4% thereabout, very low percentage in terms of treasury. The Bank of Ghana has given 10% for 14 days to the banks. For 14 days. And that is at a cost.
It comes at a cost.
Yes.
It is monetary policy prices.
Yes. So if
minus an X.
So
that is determined
yes,
for Omo.
but when you do that and the cost is high, I have the cost.
They have to. You keep the rate high because you are trying to force inflation down. So that's what enables you to mop up.
You keep the cost high for them to motivate them.
Yes,
to bring in the excess liquidity.
Absolutely.
Right? But the person that is coming to invest is giving a scanty percentage of our 3%, 4%, 5%. That is where it is.
Yeah, but so you are a depositor. And
that is also money in the system.
No, hold on.
Do you get the point?
10% it doesn't go to the market. When it comes to a restricted market, it only has to do with the banks. They are the ones whose money we would use to be able to affect currency. In that instance, as far as reserve money is concerned, you are talking about the bank reserves. You are talking about the cash involved. We are talking about currency, and when they do that, they hit their reserves at the central bank. They will now have to grow deposits by collecting your money. So they also have to make a spread. You understand? So there's no problem there. Because if you don't keep the rates there, the money will not flow. Well, the central bank of the Federal Reserve of America also does the same thing. That's what globally everybody is looking at that signal. Are they going to increase rates or reduce rates? When they're increasing rates, all the gain they are trying to do is to mop up.
You agree with me. We did the same mop up at a cost.
Agreed.
Lower than the cost of which they have done.
So what you are trying to match,
is very essential.
That relationship is direct, but it's not that direct. No, so I'm just saying it's not like 1-to-1. So if I spent 1 billion and then I achieved 1% reduction, if you have 100 billion spent, then it means that we have to go into a deflationary. It doesn't work like that.
Why should it not work like that?
Economics. So there's something called, let's take prices. Deflation side, when you go to negative inflation, you have deflation. That means prices are rather reducing. Prices conceptually are sticky downwards. At a certain point, things don't move because you are actually trying to say that prices should now be reducing. But relatively, prices, what you want to achieve, it is inflation. And when you have an economy in deflation, you stand the risk of killing production. You stand the risk of actually collapsing your economy.
Okay.
It's happening at the so it's the last thing as an economist you want to really achieve.
Okay.
There has to be a very strategic reason why you want to get that. Some producers, some products, especially import index products, can experience that. But collectively, you can't have that because are you going to agree that your salary should reduce because you have deflation? I'm asking.
Okay.
So those things affect. So you don't have it that 1-to-1. No.
Okay, that's fine. Haruna, please conclude for me.
The point is that the same process has been taken by a previous government.
Yes.
Bringing down or taking the excess liquidity.
You created a problem yourself.
No.
Oh, but how do
because we have refused. We refused. We refused.
You mismanaged.
I want to finish. I'll let give it.
We refuse to deplete our gold reserve.
If your people were listening to your vice president, a lot of things would not have happened.
You see,
I mean, if your people were listening,
you see, we refuse to deplete our gold reserve because if we had depleted our gold reserves too,
I think that I'm looking.
No. Again, don't make a mistake. When you deplete the reserve, what are you going to do? You just achieve sustained success for 2 months. How much did you have? You had
For the first time. For the first time. I'm talking one last one. For the first time.
The NPP Directorate of Communication says that you are unnecessarily harassing them. Haruna, please, let's allow Haruna, please go ahead. It's fine, it's been done.
Haruna is a good guy. You know, I like him. I don't want the two of you to be doing those politics and we will suffer for it. So I'm waiting for him too. He will get the same heckling.
No, allow Haruna to wrap up for me. I want to hear from Hamza on this, then we can make
So, I think when I wrap up,
yes,
we'll get the opportunity to touch on the gold aspect.
Yeah.
Because
put it together
if
you can.
Okay, the gentleman who, you know, he was looking very healthy.
Who?
The one who spoke.
Prince Minkan.
Yeah, but you saw that he was saying that they are liquid. He was very liquid. Very liquid. Yeah, that's the word.
That's the company, not him.
Very liquid.
He didn't say he's liquid.
You see, I'm not diabolical here. I want people to get the clarity. You see, the diamond gold, the master takes the gold and gives it to the boy.
Which master takes what, gives to which boy?
You know, Sami Jemfi is the CEO.
Yes.
Sami Jemfi has worked in engineers and planners.
As a what?
He worked there.
As a what?
And when he was working,
no, he worked
Ibrahim Mahama.
He worked as a what?
No, he worked there. He worked with.
So he worked or he works?
Yes, which is, but that is Ibrahim Mahama's company.
Okay, so he worked or he works?
So, but Ibrahim Mahama is so he's the one.
No, but separately, okay.
Yeah, but he's still working. Now he is now taking the gold from his boss. Okay, and he's talking about they are very liquid.
No. Sami Jemfi is not taking gold from Ibrahim Mahama.
He's taking from
GoldBod as a company.
Yes,
he's taking gold from
EMP.
Which is a company.
Yes, which is
Ibrahim is not the company.
Yeah, but Ibrahim
Sami Jemfi is
company.
also not the company.
Ibrahim owns the company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they have in audit we call something familiarity traits.
Okay, but in law there's something called separate legal entity,
which still comes to the point that familiarity traits also cause some conflicts. So if that is established, we will still have to know. In terms of the gold, my brother couldn't tell us the depletion in the gold reserve. In 2024, we had about 43.8 billion, 0.85 billion. And they've reduced that to about 27.03 billion.
What's our reserves?
The reserves, you know, they went into the reserves, sold our gold for 3 point something billion at the rate.
Our reserves have grown.
We are dealing with the current
but
report.
The gold that the central bank is keeping is to shore up our gross and net reserves. And the net reserves has grown. The point is that
the gold reserves was nothing to talk about.
I think you should
look. You guys did a great job.
Yes,
you set the path for where we are.
But the point is that, Senor, if you appreciate what I am saying,
if you address Senor, you address you back.
Okay, I'm addressing Umaru. Okay, so Umaru, you agree with me that this government took our gold reserves and sold it at 3.6 billion. Went back to the same market to buy it at 5-point-something billion. Then he sits down to tell us that they have not caused any loss. A basic class one student buying something or selling something at 3 and go to buy the same thing, the same quantity at 5 at a rate, then you tell us that you have not incurred any losses. When the minority raised these questions about 214 million, what did they say? At the end of the day, the Bank of Ghana came and lifted the veil because essentially they could not hide it again. They had to expose what has happened. And in the due course, the minority will come out. All these reports that have come out, the minority will come out with a release looking at the report. And I don't know whether you have seen the report from the Bank of Ghana. We have legal reporting processes in this country. And if any other bank had done what the Bank of Ghana had done, the Bank of Ghana would have shut the bank down. Bank of Ghana ought to have gotten us the report at the end of March. Goodness. If at worst, they should have gotten the report to us 3 months after the next year. And the minister ought to have even seen the report to submit to Parliament 1 month. When did the report come out? before the report could come out, majority is outside there justifying, instead of protecting our purse. Okay. The majority is out there justifying a loss of 15.
I think that is
not rectifying a point of a criminal manage of 9, but a 15 is better for us. That is where the state of Ghana has gotten to.
Hamza, I'm giving you 20 minutes.
Thank you, my brother. Let me start on
Please look at your time. Look at your time so that. So look at your time.
I don't know the time you gave me.
No, I know the time I gave you. That's why.
But Senor has taken.
Let me start on.
I'm sorry.
The very fortunate note on which
Hamza,
my brother
15
ended.
minutes.
First of all, he made references to the fact that indeed we did not comply with reporting processes and we ought to have released the report a month or so ago. Interesting logic. Clearly, you see, and that has been my problem with the NPP and its communicators. If he was minded to do little research, he would have realized that even during when they were in office, they used to release the reports in June. He is not aware. The latest, the earliest being 4th of June, under them, after every financial year.
But the thing is that even if you delay, you can write to the finance minister to give you clearance.
This is so far the fastest if you compare to the dates that they used to release, in line with the government's commitment to ensuring that we bring efficiency, not just to any other sectors, but also the central bank as well. This is the swiftest that we have had. That point needs to be made. And so you need to review your own practices when you are in power before you seek to take this Bank of Ghana to the clinics. Now, you see why we had to struggle with my brother's analysis of 54% inflation and that of my brother Senor. It is because we allowed him to start on a negative premise. Point needs to be made, Umaru, that in principle, both the NDC and MPP agree that when it comes to economic recovery, it goes with cost that the Bank of Ghana, in line with their mandate, would have to absorb for the economy to recover. But the point of departure has to do with the outcome or consequence of such costs. And in 2022, when they incurred a loss of about 61 billion, and we were interrogating the figures and accused them of criminally managing the economy, it was grounded in fact. Because remember, the 2022 report was released in 2023. And so it gave you the effect of their policies and the losses on the 2022 financial year. And what were the effects? In 2022, after losing in excess of 60 billion, inflation was 54%. Umaru, not 23. 54. So you can measure the impact of those costs under them as against the inflationary figures. Exchange rates, our city was depreciating at a faster rate during that time. So if you say this was the cost we incurred and your inflationary figures do not show, we were justified to have accused you of recklessly managing the economy and being criminal about it. Secondly, in terms of the cost, if you look at their cost buildup or their loss, out of the 60 billion, about 48 billion was as a result of domestic debt exchange program. That was how much government lost out of the 60 billion. So again, that tells you that it was because of the reckless management of the economy that even occasioned that 48 billion loss. So it was not an expenditure intended to salvage an economy. That loss of 48 billion as a result of DDP was actually a consequence of reckless and criminal spending by the government. Sorry.
That's okay.
The situation today is different. And how is it different? When you look at our portfolio, the 15.6 billion that the Bank of Ghana has announced, this is not money that has gone into anybody's pockets. A chunk of it can best be described as paper loss. And I'll explain. Look, because of the open market operations, there was a need, like my senior explained, to mop up excess liquidity in the space. And so interest rates, Bank of Ghana ultimately would have to pay more so that we can stabilize inflation. When the ordinary Ghanaian goes to the market, he can buy things for less than he would have bought under an MPP regime or last year. And that in itself brings value to the Ghanaian city. It was critical for us to do so. So as a result of that, Bank of Ghana incurred a cost of about 16.7 billion in the cleanup of that OMO operations. Now, that was a component of the cost. Then there's also the second component of the cost, which is not as a result of the NDC government or Bank of Ghana governor. That has to do with the domestic debt exchange program, the carry forward of it. That also accounted for about 13 billion on the books. Who championed domestic debt exchange program and who occasioned it? Carried forward liability that this government or Bank of Ghana had to endure. Then in addition to that, there's what we call the other comprehensive income expenditure. And that is a typical classification of paper loss. And I'll explain. Because of the prudent handling of monetary policy by the Bank of Ghana, it resulted in such a way that in translating our foreign reserves, Ghana was losing in terms of the cedi equivalent. Example, Ghana had $100. At the time the MPP was leaving office, the $100, the equivalent in the exchange rate was 14.7. So that is about 1,470 Ghana cedis. Through no fault of the Bank of Ghana, the only rationale being that they have worked to move the Ghanaian cedi to make the Ghanaian cedi stable. So and has reduced it from the 14.7.
It's a positive fault of Bank of Ghana.
Please, I'm coming. Yes, something like that. The 14.7, because we have been able to manage the cedi and improve the value of the cedi, now a dollar goes for about 10 to 11 Ghana cedi. What it simply means is that if you take our reserve and translate it into Ghana cedi, Ghana would have, Bank of Ghana is losing not because they have done any economic activity, but simply because if you convert our reserve to cedi equivalent, we would lose because our cedi has gained strength.
So it's a nominal loss.
It's a nominal loss. That's the word. So it is not money that we have spent in being reckless in government or things of that nature. Absolutely not. And you see, the final one being what we call the gold reserve program losses. And that is another interesting part. I think that Bank of Ghana has explained that because they deal with the interbank rates, you know that we buy gold using the forex. And when you go step out of the banking sector, they also have certain rates. GoldBod takes their money. They go there, buy according to the prevailing market rates. But Bank of Ghana cannot record, say, the prevailing market rates in its books. They would have to record what we call the official bank rates. And as a result of that, some losses were recorded, about 9 billion. Umaru, what have we learned from this process? This is critical. And that is a government that is being meticulous, even in terms of the kind of ways it deals with its own policies intended to salvage the economy. We have said that, look, in this particular respect, there's a need for us to review whether indeed Bank of Ghana should continue to finance the operations of GoldBod. And we have come to the realization that, look, the only viable way to do so is to create what we call the Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Policy Plan, the GANRAP. Now, with the GANRAP, Bank of Ghana will not be directly in charge of providing the financing for the purchase of gold by GoldBod. Ministry of Finance will take that responsibility, and it will reflect in the books of Ministry of Finance and that of the GoldBod.
Not Bank of Ghana.
Not Bank of Ghana. Because we have learned useful lessons from the process. And so when you do so, that tells you that in the future, Bank of Ghana's financial position would become better. Okay. Again, in terms of the other comprehensive income, because we have been able to stabilize the cedi now, so we know where the cedi stands in relation. I've not done my 20 minutes ago. We know where the cedi stands. We know where the cedi stands in relation to the stability of the cedi. Next year, we do not expect the other comprehensive income loss of about 20 billion to continue on that trajectory because we've been able to stabilize the cedi. And same can be said with OMO operations because we are almost done. So even the bill with that would come down. My brother also made references to. So this is a government that has that foresight and is optimistic that next year Bank of Ghana's books will be better. Now my brother also made references to, they spent 8.6 billion. And we have spent 16 in OMO operations. And we have spent 16 billion. Twice of that. When they spent the 8.6 billion, inflation was around 23%.
9.49, not 8.6.
You see, when they spent 8.3, inflation was what? About 23%. And what was the cedi? The exchange rate they left us. We have spent 16.3 billion or 4, and inflation is about 3% as we speak today. our exchange rate, our cedi has appreciated. So that is how you value it. We spent more and we delivered more. You spent 8.6 billion and the inflationary rate barely moved if you look at the figures. Because you see, in this analysis, when you were speaking, I didn't interject you. You cannot take the 54. Actually, 54 was 2022. Haruna, don't interject, please. When you were speaking
I'm directing to him.
Yeah, but the point is that the period is not the same.
The periods are not the same. So that's why when you were doing that analysis, I was concerned. I was terribly concerned because you see, when you get the period wrong, your analysis will be wrong. And that's what you demonstrated around this table today.
Okay.
And
wrap up for me.
Yes, I'll wrap up, please. You see, for us as a government, we understand that the cost of economic recovery was going to be burdensome because of the kind of economy we inherited and the recklessness that characterized the economy we inherited. And we know that the prudent way of getting out of the woods is to find an important vehicle for government to absorb that losses. And fortunately, the law says that Bank of Ghana should be positioned to absorb such losses with the prospects of making profits in the future to be able to offset the so-called cost or losses. And if you look at our economic indices, it gives a very positive picture that indeed, in the coming years, Bank of Ghana will be able to retire all the costs incurred in sustaining this economic recovery trajectory of the government. Unlike what we experienced under them.
Okay.
They spent more, in excess of 60 billion, and delivered next to zero.
Okay.
It was as a result of that failure to deliver that even took us to being locked out of the international capital markets in the first place. So if your economic measures under Bank of Ghana and the cost burden of Bank of Ghana was producing foods, we should not have been locked out of the international markets.
Thank you.
I hear them say that, but why is the IMF quiet? The IMF is quiet because they see the prospects of recovery and the ability of the Bank of Ghana to be able to retire these costs in the coming years.
Okay.
The IMF is quiet because they are convinced that this is the way to go in our quest to recover. The IMF is quiet because they know that we have better managers at the central bank today who are being honest in terms of how they are managing the economy and the monetary policy of this country.
Thank you,
and so these facts ought to be appreciated. As for the MPP, like I have indicated, if you go and root your analysis on different timelines, it will even make sense to yourself.
Thank you, Hamza. Thank you.
I've made a lot of sense to the people.
Thank you. Thank you.
How much was inflation? How much were they buying?
Which inflation? How much cost did you use?
Duncan.
How much cost did you use?
You see, Sandra, we have been told that the ordinary man whom you represent is benefiting and that this loss is not affecting them directly. Is that your reading of the situation?
Hamza, to start, I'm happy where I sat because if I left...
You are a good buffer.
Yes, probably wouldn't move on.
Oh no, we are gentlemen.
We are.
They are not gentlemen. No. This man threatened to take this man to the cemetery in Tamale earlier. So thank you for...
No.
Yes. Don't mind me.
All
Mischief,
right.
yes.
Sandra, well, as a common man, as I always say, I will deal with the microeconomic indicators first. Is it any better than it was a year ago? In 2024, the central bank recorded a net loss of some 9.49 billion. Today, we are told the figure is around 15 billion. Sandra, when I read the headline initially, you will get alarmed and say, but what exactly is the central bank selling or processing or producing? What exactly are they wasting our monies on? And then you go further and you realize that they indeed would need to step in to correct some of the microeconomic imbalances. And in doing so, it will come at a certain cost. Sandra, if indeed it is the case that moving the cedi, which is the mainstay of the economy, your currency, from an earlier exchange of about 15 or 16 to the dollar to around 11 and 12. There's a hit that you take, and that hit will not sit in the books of the finance ministry as a debt, but it's coming as a loss to the central bank. Sandra, I think that it is fair and well. Again, if you're also looking at the issue of fighting inflation, and today I think most of us can gauge, except to say that the way and manner pricing is done in Ghana, sometimes you can hardly measure inflation properly as a common man. Sandra, if I was buying sachet water initially for 50 pesos, and then you wake up to the announcement that they are going to do 70 pesos in one city, that's 100%. So when you are later told by the GSS, Ghana Statistical Service, that inflation is around 3%, as a common man, who goes to the kiosk to probably buy stuff, sometimes you measure the price changes and you wonder, is it really what we are told that is happening on paper? So although these numbers, between MPP and NDC, 9.49 billion, 15 billion, it looks incremental, right? But overall, as a people who, if I want to join my trotro, am I getting the benefit of these expenditures? Transport fares could have gone up, but I must say that over the past 15, 16 months, since the inception of this new government, that hasn't happened. To the contrary, I was part of a team that, helped the GPRTU to even reduce fares at some point by some 10, 15%, if you recall, though not everybody did that. So on the microeconomic scale, there's been a lot of positives here and there. As to whether these losses, as Hamza wants to communicate, will be minimized, in the current financial
prefer costs of recovery than losses.
Okay, I will not use your language. For me, it's a loss in the books of the Bank of Ghana, as it's been reported. As to whether indeed going forward, in 2026, when we are done reporting for the fiscal year, these costs will go down. That would then inform some of us as to whether the economy is really being managed prudently, because as we speak, whatever you achieved by way of the microeconomic, indicators, most of that was done in 2025. The fuel pricing situation did move from the 15 almost to around 10, 11, 12 for most part of the year. If there was a hit for it, farewell. Very well and good. If inflationary pressures moving from the 20s ranging to around 3, right, it cost us something, fair and well. If it is around 3 today, and by close of year, you come back to tell all of us that you've made further losses due to a certain gold program, reserve program, then you'll be raising eyebrows. So I'll be hoping that what they tell us today, I can hold them to same by end of the fiscal year. I'll be hoping that inflationary pressures will not be allowed to escalate. Although, like I said, the real cost of goods and services on the open market sometimes leaves you wondering whether indeed inflation is 3%. Because, like I said, the sachet water people recently were asking for, if it is 50 pesos and you add 20 pesos under, that's almost 40%, right? So the cost of escalation sometimes, it leaves you wondering whether indeed what is reported is what we are feeling in our pockets. But I can fairly report, based on where I sit, that even for cost of transport fares, there's been a reduction over the past 1 year, and that is very good. The operators were hoping to increase fares, with the surge in fuel prices, but they were able to hold because of the intervention again by government, which is going to cost them money. I do hope that to the end of the year, we could have this discussion again and see whether we are making progress, as I would want to believe. My own teacher, Professor Peter Korte, he taught me at ISE, very astute. Whatever he says, I'll hold him to it at the end of the year. Whatever Senor says, I'll hold him to it at the end of the year. Whatever Hamza says, I'll hold them to it at the end of the year. We want to see progress. And if indeed the macroeconomic indicators are favorable at this point, and it's already cost us 15 billion, it is our hope that at the end of the year, 2026,
we will not record these numbers again, and Ghanaians will be better off.
Thank you, Duncan. So let me go to your teacher now. Prof, sustaining the gains is crucial. So you've said to us that this loss is not something we should organize a funeral over. But do we need to repeat similar thing next year? We're hoping not. What should we do to ensure we don't get there? And how do we sustain the gains?
Well, definitely not. We shouldn't be repeating this going forward. We should see an exit, a gradual exit in the next few years from this losses and see profit, if we may put it that way. Now, for me, I'm quite excited by this gun wrap concept because in my engagement with the IMF and the World Bank, they are of the view that this law should sit on the books of the Ministry of Finance. So when we are preparing our annual budget, if there's any loss, that's where it should belong to. So if they are now going to finance the purchase of the gold, then that certainly will be one way of reducing the losses. Then also, I've spoken about the need to reduce our cash-based economy. Digitalization is the way to go. Happily, e-levy is gone. So people are using Momo quite a lot. In fact, it's very alarming the way people are now used to digital payments. If we encourage that and more money...
When you say alarming, it sounds negative. You mean positively alarming?
Oh, positively alarming,
okay.
Yes. No, not negatively. No. Positively alarming. That would mean less liquidity in terms of cash on the system. Now the banks are not printing for this smaller denominations. They are printing more of the larger denominations. Central bank is doing more of that as well. It tells you that we are moving from this cash-based economy. So hopefully we'll minimize this. And I think the stability we are enjoying, if we should sustain the stability, what it will mean is that people will have confidence in the banking system, confidence in the government, and whatever excess liquidity they have, they would invest in government instruments, long-term instruments, 7-year bonds, 10-year bonds. So Bank of Ghana wouldn't have to go out there and be mopping more of the excess liquidity in order to sustain the stability we are enjoying. And I think my final point is let's work hard as we exit the IMF program, because I have my fear that if you are not careful, we exit the program and we go do business as usual, then we will see more losses, and that will be a shame to all of us. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Before you go, you have 2 students in my studio. Are they doing well? Would you mark them well, or they have been an embarrassment to your lectures?
Probably will have to come back.
Oh, on the side, they know what I think about them. But yes, they are doing so well. Sergio amazes me. Duncan, from time to time when I hear him on radio, I call him on the side and commend him. I mean, they are both very great students, and they are doing well.
Thank you.
When the students are good, the teacher is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. We'll come to your class as well. Let's conclude. I have been told I have 4 minutes. I'm going to give you 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. No, you are not part.
No, I need that 1 minute.
Okay, so 1 minute each, and I'm going to time you. Send you first.
Do we have the...
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I think we should move on. We should have consensus on this. We have a productive economic cost, which we can all relate to. And in all honesty, I think both political parties should celebrate this, all right? The gold for reserve program started under the NPP was perfected by the NDC. It has helped us get where we are. They've been more efficient at the spend, the direct cost at it though. We have about 9.1 billion spent. And the gun wrap thing, like Prof. Cortes said, is perfect. So it actually sits on the fiscal side. The fiscal side benefits from it, so it can balance out. At the end of the day, the fiscal economy owns the monetary policy entity, which is the central bank. So if there's a loss or a gain, it goes again back to the fiscal side. The FX valuation of 29.1 billion, which is the other bit that caused this loss, is truly speaking, like you rightly said, a paper.
Your graph is on now with the orange.
Yeah.
So you said that this shows what?
So what you clearly now see, the blue bar is telling you the rate of growth, year-on-year growth on a monthly basis, as far as reserve money is concerned. So you see, as it was going up, you see how where inflation was also running. Inflation is actually the orange one. When they took that strong decision and they started actively reducing it, look at where growth was 104. 6.5. And then they started dropping it. You see how inflation has been moving.
Okay. So
It is that whole thing, that whole movement down was achieved as a result of the OMO cost.
Okay.
So this 16.7 billion was supposed to reduce the growth, and that's what we have seen. And what have you seen correlating to that? Is what a drop in inflation.
Okay.
So this is something that I think that we should all celebrate and rather put proper controls. And one last thing, it is almost a one-time cost if we maintain fiscal discipline.
Okay.
Because you will not have 29.1 billion again because you have stability, so there's no new provision. The next thing is that half of the 9.1 billion is moving out because of the GANRAP arrangement.
Yes.
And you don't again need to have that depth of money, liquidity sucking up. What we start, you need to start having a conversation on the MPP. Start charging the NDC because we are all not seeing what is the productivity plan to drive the economy from stability to productivity. And only ask them, that is where employment and things will come from.
Thank you, Senor. Hamza, 30 seconds.
No, 1 minute.
No, 30 seconds.
And I can assure you that they don't need to charge us because it's part of our manifesto promises to the good people of this country. And we know that they will hold us responsible when it comes to the production plan. And if you look at the last budget, we indicated even the number of factories we intend to roll out to take advantage of this economic industry. But you see, finally, on the issue of the allegation or assertion of my brother that indeed the central bank decided to sell some of the gold reserves. You see, we do not have monetary policy committee just for the beauty or aesthetics of it. We did so at a time we were quite convinced that commodity prices were going to come down. So if a portion of the gold reserves were not sold by Bank of Ghana and saved the dollar to still maintain the stability of the reserves, be rest assured that with the declining shock, any shock would have taken us backwards.
Okay.
And these were the kind of foresight the MPP lacked.
Thank you, Hamza. Haruna, please, I want to hear Haruna.
And so we are being dynamic in the way we are managing monetary policy in this country.
Yes, Haruna.
They didn't see well. They were seeing that the commodity prices will come down. But after they went to sell it at 3, it went up to 5.
They didn't sell it at 3.
No, we didn't sell it at 3.
Let me hear Haruna, please.
And then when I say come back, I want the same level.
I'll give it to you. Haruna, I'm good for me. No. Please, all of you are off.
I want to finish my listing.
Haruna, please.
All right. Again, there was a figure that was mentioned, that about the 61.3 billion. It was not in relation to those particular home operations. It was in relation to the negative equity. And when there is an equity, a negative equity attached to it, it means your capital is being reduced. So if we had 61.3 billion in terms of equity negative, and you have about 96.3 billion, you should be telling the people the truth that this is what you have incurred.
Well.
And again, the biggest operation or driver for this comprehensive income, you know that we have been able to maintain a positive of 10.5 billion gain in 2024 in terms of the comprehensive income. And then you have maintained a loss of 23.6 billion in 2025, which is the key operating expenses. This is tangential. I was not going there. You pick those things. You pick the comprehensive income. So I want to give you the figures under the comprehensive income. Yes, so, and I will respond. Continue to respond. Okay, sorry.
Of all truth, Ghanaians are complaining of the Accra-Kumasi stretch. And if I don't put this out right now, they will beat me. Okay. It takes 16 hours for somebody to get on that road.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I think that the transport minister, the roads ministry should be interested in this. The weekends are becoming unproductive on that stretch. And I think that they should.
Thank you so much. That will be it for the big issue this week on Channel 1 TV and on 97.3 City FM. Senor, you are not the host. And that's it. We'll be back. Senor. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much, everybody. Good night.